Hey, a very good evening to you all. Welcome to another Money Space with me. My name is Kalu Aja. Of course, on this space, we're talking money, the economy, and finance. And we are just trying to make those money topics, simple and easy for you to understand so that way you can be a better investor, better citizen, better taxpayer, right? That's what we're doing today. So, welcome, guys. Special welcome to all the Manchester United fans. Big ups for you guys joining in here, even after what happened today. I feel it. So, yeah, welcome. All right, guys. So, this week we are talking government accounting, government economics. I want to relate that really to the whole spate of reports, comment that we hear our president, commentators, and everyone make. Because I think there's something fundamentally maybe wrong. Is the word wrong or amiss with the way we run the Nigerian account, and it's all across the board. That if we don't fix, we might be looking at, we might be thinking that we're doing well when the economy really isn't that doing that well. So you heard the president say, I believe it was this week, that he has met his revenue target for 2025. And he said I've met that revenue target in August. So he's got like 3 months to spare, and he met that target. I also saw online that the non-oil sector is now generating as much income as the oil sector in Nigeria. So the non-oil revenues are coming in stronger or at pace with the oil sector in Nigeria. I also saw that as well. And then we also hear the budgets. We have two budgets, two capital budgets, three budgets, and all that. All these things are tied together because if you don't get a handle of really what's going on in Nigeria, again, your perception is going to be skewed and you're going to take perhaps the wrong information. Now, understand what we're doing here is just to give you the facts and the data, right? We don't create the data. This is federal government data that we're analyzing. So don't hold us to account and listen, we're demarketing and all that. This is the same federal government's data. Let's start from the very, very beginning. I posted on Twitter this week that Nigeria last year ran about 3 budgets. So let's even go back to 2024. 2024, Nigeria ran 3 budgets. They ran the 2023 budget itself, the federal budget itself. They ran the supplementary budget itself. Then they ran the actual 2024 budget. So 2024, we had the 2023 budget, 2023 supplementary, and 2024 budget. In 2024, we did the exact same thing. We ran the 2024 budget, the supplementary together. And in 2025, we have brought in the 2024 capital budget to 2025. So in this year, in this fiscal year, 2025, Nigeria is running the 2024 capital budget in addition to the 2025 capital budget. But curiously, the Minister of Budget said that the 2025 capital budget will start. So it hasn't started. It's going to start September. So it's just started. So 2025 capital budget has just started in September 2025. In 2024, Nigeria borrowed, give or take, about $2 billion to implement the 2024 budget. So hear me again. 2024, we borrowed $2 billion in about December to implement the 2024 budget, right? And now in 2025, all the projects you hear that have been done, the coastal road, the 30 kilometers and all that, the renovation works at the airport, we are being told that those are not 2025 capital budgets. Those are actually 2024. That's what I'm understanding, that because we haven't done them in September, we've done them from January till September. We're being told those are all 2024. So the question that comes to your mind is, of course, where are the 2024 projects? If those projects are 2025, then what happened to 2024 projects or the 2023 project? Again, you see the confusion. Even just saying it is confusing you guys already. I'm already getting the DM. It's already confusing you. No, I'm not making a typo. I'm telling you exactly what the federal government has said. So you have overlapping budgets, which makes it difficult for you to track. Quick question for you. The Nigerian Coastal Road Project. You can see that we've borrowed money in 2025 and also we got approval in 2024 for the road. The road that has been done, has the money come from the 2025 budget or has it come from the 2024 budget? Was this road in 2024 budget? If it was, how much was appropriated in 2024 budget? If it's 2025 budget, but we haven't started 2025 budget in September, then under what budget was the road done from January to September? If you don't have these figures, it's difficult to then listen to the president say, I have met my revenue target. Is the president implying that he's using two income streams, 2024 and 2025, to meet his target in 2025? That's what the problem is. Now, usually when you have inconsistencies, you go to the data points and you look for information from the data points. And Nigeria has got many data points. On the federal level, we have the budget office, and the federal budget office has got reports that they publish quarterly. That's the budget implementation report. That will tell you the income of Nigeria, the expenditure of Nigeria, broken down from federal to states. So you can see exactly what has come in from oil, from VAT, from corporate income taxes. Everything that's coming, you see it in that report. You also see where the money was spent on salaries, debt, and all that. The latest report was now on that page is Q3 2024. For a long time, it was just Q2 2024. There was a lot of noise on Twitter. They released Q3. So according to the federal government, we have no record from the federal government on how Nigeria has spent money. The last record we have is Q3 2024. So when the president makes a statement that he has met his target and the budget minister says we are now spending budget as at September, we have no way to verify this because the last report we have is Q3 2025. There's another report that the Central Bank of Nigeria does. They do a monthly report, they do a quarterly report in Nigeria, the Central Bank of Nigeria. The latest report that Central Bank has, if you go on their monthly economic report, is April 2025. April. So Central Bank, of course, also track income to Nigeria because they are the bankers. So they will track income to Nigeria and expenditures also to Nigeria. But we don't see that report. The latest report is as of April. So there is no data point that we can use to confirm, collaborate, or question the president's statement that he has exceeded his budget template or budget revenue numbers as at 2025. We can't confirm or deny that report because the federal government's reports are all outdated. Again, Budget Office latest report is Q3, Q3 2024. For the Central Bank of Nigeria, latest report is April 2025. The president is quoting August 2025, so we can't verify any numbers. Let's now go into how we're even classifying oil and non-oil in Nigeria. The president says, I met my target using non-oil. So essentially what he's saying is that he was making a reference to the sanctions from America. Like whatever America does, Nigeria has sort of solidified the economy, has stabilized it to the extent that we don't make revenues from oil anymore. We make revenues from non-oil. If you go to the Central Bank of Nigeria's report, you also see oil, non-oil. If you go to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, it's also broken down, oil, non-oil. So I took a look and I did research. What is this non-oil? Because it's strange to me because when I look at the trade report of Nigeria, Nigeria's trade report, you cannot even compare oil and non-oil. The gap is too wide. Nigeria is a mono-export economy. Forget all that cocoa and whatever. Nigeria is a mono-export economy. We export so much crude oil and gas that the difference between crude oil and gas and the non-oil is like 11 to 3. It's a huge gap. So how can we export so much crude oil but make so much revenues from non-crude oil? See, it doesn't tally. It doesn't tally. So I did a research and I said, what is this non-oil that we're exporting? So I picked the 5 largest non-oil exporting companies in Nigeria. The largest non-oil exporter in Nigeria, the largest, is a company doing cocoa. That company is not doing $500 million a year. That company has done $500 million from their inception to date. That company, all kudos to them. That's an indigenous company run by indigenous Nigerians that have done a lot. But combined, that company has not done $1 billion in exports from when they started operations till today. And that's the largest company that is doing non-oil exports in Nigeria. It's doing more than Dangote. That company, I think I'll only get their name. If you look on my page, I have tweeted about the top 5 oil companies. I'll try to tweet them again. An indigenous company based in the southwest of Nigeria, exporting cocoa. So kudos to them. But if that company is the number 1 in Nigeria, and it's not as big as Olam or Dangote, is the number 1, then where the revenue is coming from? It doesn't make any sense. The second company that's making non-oil exports is not LMA now, Indorama, the Indorama Petrochemical Company. What do they export? Polyethylene. Where's polyethylene from? Oil and gas. You see the problem? We are counting LMA, now Indorama Petrochemical, as a non-oil company. That's the number 2 guy. So that number 1 guy has about 29, I believe. The number 2 guy has about 25. I don't hold me to those numbers, but it's about 2020. So one is cocoa, which is non-oil, fantastic. The other one is doing polyethylene, which is oil and gas. You can't say polyethylene is not oil and gas. What's the third largest exporting company in Nigeria? Non-oil. According to the Nigerian government, is Dangote Fertilizers, urea fertilizers. Again, urea fertilizers are oil and gas because you make urea fertilizers from gas. So you see what's going on here? When we count Indorama and Dangote Fertilizers as non-oil, we are skewing the numbers. Because Indorama, that is doing polyethylene in a petrochemical plant, the name of Indorama's company is called Indorama Petrochemical. NNPC sits on the board of Indorama. So how can Indorama, that is doing petrochemical, now also be a non-oil? Makes no sense. Same thing with the Dangote urea fertilizer. How can Dangote urea fertilizers, that is using natural gas to export fertilizers, be a non-oil company? So you see where the problem is. The president's numbers may be correct. He could have said, I have made my target from exporting non-oil. Let's assume his statement is correct. But the president is counting Dangote Fertilizer and Indorama Petrochemical as non-oil. And that's what skews the numbers in Nigeria to see that the non-oil sector is generating as much revenues as the oil sector, which is totally wrong. Because there's no way you can export 11 trillion in oil and 3 trillion in non-oil, then turn on and say the taxes on the non-oil is more than the taxes on the oil. So again, let me stop here. So if you guys want to comment, I will gladly allow you. Let me just summarize what I've said. Number 1, the president has said that Nigeria has met its revenue target in August. In August, that's number 1. He also said that revenue target was made using non-oil. I've said that I don't think that is a true position, and that even if it is true, it's very, very difficult to confirm it because the president's own budget office publishes reports quarterly, and the latest report they have is Q3 2024. The CBN, which is the Independence Bank of the Federation, also publishes reports. The latest report they have is April 2025. So we have no August report of any institution in Nigeria, and we can verify if incomes have gone up or incomes have gone up, down, or the correlation between oil and oil. We have none. Number 2, we are doing overlapping budgets. So this year, as we speak, 2025, the president is using 2 income streams, the 2024 income, the 2025 income, to prosecute the 2025 capital budget. So when he says he has met his budget, is he talking about 2024, 2025, the combination? What's he saying? Last year we had 3 budgets. Today we have 2 budgets. One is capital 2024. The second one is capital 2025. So what are we talking about? Two budgets, one budget, difficult to know. Then finally, we've talked about the way Nigeria, the composition of Nigeria's oil and non-oil economy. We say that the oil economy is doing as much as the non-oil. And I said that is wrong because what we are doing is we are counting companies that are oil-based as non-oil. The number one oil company in Nigeria is a company called Starlink. That's the name. Starlink Global and Ideal Limited is the number one export non-oil exporter in Nigeria. They export cocoa. Starlink, indigenous company. They are out of the southwest of Nigeria. Local guys. That company combined has not done 1 billion from inception to today. Not this year, inception to today. Kudos to them. They are beating Dangote and the rest, but they haven't done a billion. Oil does a billion a week or something like that. Put it that way. So we're counting Dangote's fertilizer, which exports urea, and we're also counting Indorama, which also exports polyethylene, as non-oil, which is wrong. We can't do that because polyethylene and urea are both oil. So if you look at this, that's why the topic is the overlapping budget, delayed accounting, and state of the economy. We're having a false picture. It's like you're counting cows and saying you have 10 dogs. It's like you're saying you have met your target. You play a football game and you only count the first half and you say all the goals scored in the first half, I have won. That's not how an economy is run. Olumide, how you doing, sir? Welcome to the space. You've heard my intro. I'm not sure if you have anything on. And again, if you guys want to add, please request for the mic. I'll add you and do the DMs as well. We can take. Olumide, you got the floor, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Carl. Been a while. The space was Twitter has been a bit buggy. I don't know the app updates.
That is true.
And very great conversation and the topic. Yeah, I totally agree. And based on your foundational knowledge in science, I know what you really mean by the fact that you can't classify hydrocarbons as really non-oil. But I think from the context of socio-economic and where reporting has been, I think when they categorize non-oil or oil,
Olumide, I'm not sure. I can't personally hear you. I'm not sure if you're still speaking. Maybe it's me. Okay, Olumide has dropped off. Let me try to add him back again. Yeah, Twitter's been very, very buggy, Olumide. Yeah, Olumide, you dropped off.
Yeah, sorry, it was the app.
Yeah, where you dropped off was where you were talking about categorizing these guys as oil and non-oil.
So if you look at, you're totally right. Hydrocarbons, when you look at the components of crude oil, yes, urea, fertilizer, these things come from the major source, crude oil, and petrol, kerosene are all derivatives. So totally makes sense. But I think our classification stems from the component of just distinguishing crude oil from the rest. I think when you look at gas, the way it has been. However, I don't really want to go too much on that. I really think you really said so many very important things, and I really wanted to highlight it. So first of all, I think the president made a political speech. I think for me, I did. That's why I don't want to comment too much on that. Yes, we've seen that the economy has improved from the last administration. That's bottom. We've seen the macros. We've seen earnings from companies turning out positively. We've seen the FX market more stable. We've seen the Naira holding some stability this year. We've seen interest in money market FPIs. We've seen about over 3 trillion in Nigerian money market. We're seeing increased interest also in the bond market, despite the fact that rates have been moderating lately. So, in fairness, the macros have improved, Carl. But coming back to what you said, we have persistent problem, particularly on the fiscal side. We've noticed that the fact that economic consumption still remains feeble, despite the fact that we've seen amazing earnings from companies, the underlying middle class population has not shown the tenacity of growth in all indicators shown. And what was against
They've dropped off again. Yeah, they dropped off again. So yeah, I really wish he was here just so before I respond, so he could be here so that we could just have a back and forth on this. Um,
I'm so sorry. It's horrible.
no worries. We got you.
So yes, it's the app because I'm in a place where 5G is pretty not. So I wonder what's happening. So I think you really made a lot of sense when you spoke about the overlapping, which to me I'm confused because I'm not an accountant, but I think it still tells us that the way our budget is being operated has a still lot of work because it confuses the market. I spoke with a lot of macro analysts and they were trying to explain the implication. And I'm also worried about Nigeria's increasing debt to GDP. The news that declared IMF has really confused the populace. Many people don't understand that the fact that the naira has been devalued. If you look at our debt to GDP, it has really risen significantly. And why it makes me very worried is because yes, it's not as high as what we have in the United States, where it's about 137% of their GDP, or in France, where it's about 115%, which we are seeing crisis. But it's worrisome in Nigeria because, first of all, Nigeria is not reserve currency. Our foreign reserves, which is at $41 billion, barely meets 10 month import obligation. And also the fact that we are entering an era of uncertainty with what is happening in the Middle East. I think it's really a call for fiscal prudence. Yes, Cardoso has really done well in stabilizing the foreign exchange market, but the headline here is the fiscal side. And I think Mr. Wale Edo has a lot on his corners because the market has been positive because of really assets looking very undervalued, interest. But as we're going next year, with economic consumption still at a worrisome condition, crime rate still elevated, unemployment still very high. I don't understand how the president will really set up. But I think the saving grace for 2026 for me is the tax reforms, like what you addressed there. I think that the harmonization of different agencies where we have one agency taking the bull by the horn, I think is positive. I think the collection will be more efficient. I think generation. But what a lot of people are asking is the utilization. What are these taxes going to be used for? And there was another case of the 5% on petrol where we really explained further that it still needs the assent of the Minister of Finance before that will take effect. But you could see the agitation among the Nigerian public. So I still believe that we really need to boost economic consumption. And like you said, the budget, our ministries, I don't want to talk about that. For me, I can only score about 6 or 7 above average. And personally, that's because the key factors of the Nigerian economy, agriculture, I've not expressed agriculture as this horrible state under the civil administration in the fourth report. I'm also not seeing much work in terms of labor. I'm not seeing much work, despite the fact that I'm not seeing much work in that. And also, I expect much more from the Ministry of Finance, the clear plan, actually, for the populace and the vulnerable ones. Thank you.
I think you brought in a lot of topics in there. Fuel tax and taxes. I completely agree with you that the saving grace for Nigeria is going to be this tax reform that is going to reform the collection and the accounting of taxes. That would give the Nigerian government a big boost in revenues next year. Like I held a space on tax and I told people, if you plan to evade taxes next year, that's going to be a bad idea for you. So try to talk to your accountant and say, what does the tax policy mean? How can I play in that tax? But they're very serious and you're going to be very surprised with how they're going to find out that you are making income and they're going to tax you on that. I completely agree with you on that. Olumide, I just shared a chart on my Twitter page. If you go to my Twitter page, Olumide, the last chart I just shared now, it's the capital inflow and foreign portfolio investment report. This is from the CBN. This is the one from April 2025. So if you could look at that, Olumide, that's a very important chart. If you guys can also go on Twitter, just look at the last chart I showed you, see there. Let me try to explain that chart to you, because I also see a lot of people asking questions. Kalu, should I hold my Naira? Kalu, and all that. Let's understand this chart that Cine has shared. So if you guys can see that chart, give me a thumbs up so I can explain it. Yeah. You see that chart, right? The table 44, figure 44, capital inflow and foreign portfolio investment. You see it, right? It's on my Twitter. It's the last thing I just tweeted now. Do you see it? You see it? Figure 44.
I'll check it because the app is really buggy. Yeah, but
Gotcha.
I'll give it.
So essentially, what is CBN is sharing to us, to Nigerians, what is happening in the economy in terms of inflow of capital. So let me give you just the way it works. The Naira today is a derivative, right, of what is coming in terms of dollars and what is going out in terms of dollars. The Naira value, right, will go up if dollars come into the country. So if you want to have a strong Naira, dollar has to come in, either through exports or through borrowings or through remittances. That's how Naira goes up. So the Naira that you are seeing going up today is at 1,500, right? It was about 144. So it's going up. It's because there's dollars coming to the economy. Fantastic news, right? But look at that chart. In 2024, in April, you see that chart, you see the yellowish, you see the gray. We had 50-50. So money was coming in through foreign portfolio investment. FPI means borrowings, bonds, T-bills. When you borrow money, money comes to your country through foreign portfolio investments. FPI. If you look at that chart, you will see that we didn't have any foreign direct investment. It was very, very little in 2024 April. But we were getting the money through other investments. I suppose that would be remittances and other ways we are getting money to Nigeria. And half of the money was also coming in from foreign portfolio investments. So you see where we are to April 2024. Go to, say, October 2024, or even September, or even November. What do you see? You see the collapse in other investments coming to Nigeria. So dollars are still coming in, but how dollars are coming in has changed. It's no longer coming in through other investments, which means Emeka or Olumide is no longer sending dollars into Nigeria. Rather, Olumide is investing in treasury bills, treasury bonds by the Nigerian government. So the Nigerian government is now owing Olumide. When money comes in through remittances, the federal government does not owe Olumide. The money is still coming in, but we don't owe Olumide. So if you look at, say, October, you can see the huge jump in FPI. So we are borrowing money to do what? To bring dollars into Nigeria. To do what? To keep the Naira stable. So on Twitter, you see Naira is going up, Naira is going up, Naira is going up. This is a chart from the CBN right here. If you go to, let me just finish them. If you go to March and April, you see the total. There is nothing again in other investments. There is no FDI, foreign direct investment. It's gone. It's been replaced by, and then you see the yellow line. Capital inflows are falling. So what they are saying is that the long-term flows into Nigeria, capital inflows are going down, but the foreign portfolio investment, the borrowings have gone up. It is the borrowings, what I said at the beginning, when dollar comes to Nigeria, your Naira becomes strengthened. That's why your Naira is getting value, because dollars are coming to Nigeria. But at what cost? We don't know the cost because we don't have any records for September, or we just had this April. Let me go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to add another dimension. You totally spot on, but I wanted to add another dimension that you might have overlooked. I think for me, the man of the year in the foreign exchange market is not Kaduso, like everybody else. I think it's Dangote, and I'll tell you.
Let's clap for Dangote. Let's just clap for Dangote. I'm clapping for Dangote.
Because if you look at foreign direct investments, like you rightly alluded, it's even at an all-time low. If you look at it from a long, like on the 10-year,
it's minuscule. It's disappeared.
Yes, the FPI gave the CBN some room to stabilize, but see, Dangote has really brought in a new order, and that's why I speak to a lot of Naira short sellers and critics and advisors. I'm not saying you should not short the Naira, but I'm saying you need to look at the big elephant in the room, and I'll tell you why. If you look at subsidy from 2023 to 2025, our consumption has dropped. Import petrol import has dropped by almost half. And if you understand the major FX lion that consumes our that's the major import that consumes our FX is petrol. So Dangote has minimized that. Is increasing urea exports. Is bringing in a lot on taking petrol to new markets. Now, the argument from other people is that okay, but Nigeria is importing crude. That's true.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Just to say, yeah.
But you also need to look at the comparative advantage when you factor all these things in. So at the end of the day, I think the fact that Nigeria is still a weak economy in terms of economic consumption when you compare to other giants like South Africa, Egypt, or even go as much as Brazil, you see that Dangote is really a big room here. And I think what the government really needs to do right now is propel other companies, because if you look at Fitzim, for example, they're trying to go into non-export side and already increasing exports. You see Guinness Nigeria. I was so surprised to see Malta Guinness in Paris, in UK. It tells you that companies now are taking advantage of exporting because now labor is cheap. The naira is devalued. You look at labor compared to different countries, labor is almost is cheaper than what you get in Ghana or Cameroon. So Nigeria has that advantage. So I think where the government is getting it wrong is the fact that all the credits, yes, they make the policies, but you need to give the private sector a lot of commendation, because these guys, you look at the way earnings are rolled out, these guys are really strategized. Access Bank is also another big giant that Nigeria really needs to commend. If you look at far back as 2 decades ago, Access Bank really had negligible FX inflows. But if you look at, apart from the banks that have foreign subsidiaries, and excluding Stanbic, Citi, and Standard Chartered, Access Bank is the bank to beat. So they've been able to also diversify, go into new markets, breaking. So yes, our private sector really are really informed in the Nigerian economy, and that's where a lot of people fail to see these stories for. So yes, it's under government policies, but kind of like I said, I think more difference now is how the private sector will take it, because we still need a lot to be done. If you look at economic size compared to many markets, it's still barely what it should be, and I think we really need to take it from there.
Let's go back to this tweet I said about the non-oil sector exports. Again, I want to be very, very clear. This gentleman, his name is Alhaji Dr. Adeniji Murtada Adeyemi. That guy should be given GCFOR. He is the number one non-oil exporter in all of Nigeria. All of Nigeria. He's doing better than Dangote. His name is, this company is Starling Global and Ideal. So I praised him. This company, again, is not doing $500 million from inception. I'm not saying this year. I said from inception. So why I'm bringing this point is this, right? When we see, if you go on Twitter today, what do you see? Non-oil is doing as much as oil. That's what you see. There's one. No, I'm just. Where people are listening, something. We're trying to educate people. No, I get you. But I'm trying to educate people that are listening. Now you also see that chart that says you see trade surplus. That Nigeria has got a trade surplus for every year. Nigeria, guys, from 1999 till this year, has had a positive trade surplus apart from 1 year only. That was 2016. You can't count 2020 and 2021 because it was COVID. That's the other 2 years we had trade deficit. From 1999 till this year, Nigeria has always had a positive trade surplus. Every year. Only 2016, and that's when oil prices crashed, did we not have it. So when we see those on social media, we see on oil, the impression being created is that somehow we have met this target of Nigeria, that we have diversified the economy to the extent that the non-oil is generating, and I'm saying that's false. The non-oil numbers are coming from corporate income tax and VAT. So in the Nigerian government, even in CBN, They are going to the second guy after Starlink. Second guy is Indorama. Indorama is paying VAT. Indorama is paying corporate income taxes, but they're going to take that as non-oil. That's the point I'm making with this, that forget this thing, guys. We are still a mono economy. We are driven by crude oil. That's why once crude oil coughs, the economy will catch a cold. If
I think everybody knows that.
we don't eliminate the economy, that's also social media. And again, the point again, cocoa has been the commodity that has got the largest share price increase in the last 2 years. I think cocoa was doing better than Bitcoin at the point of the Cocoa was doing better than Bitcoin. Good.
Cocoa got to 12,000 December 2024.
Good.
Now the price at New York is 7,420 per
Good. So if Nigeria had simply doubled the output, not the price now, the output of cocoa.
Yeah, we doubled.
The output, not the price, the output. So we're doing 2,000, we doubled 4,000. Would have this argument would not be have. We would have Mr. Tinubu would
but just like what you are really saying, I think, to be honest with you, Nigeria's major effects comes from crude oil. When you look at whatever you want to look
not just FX, VAT, corporate income tax, economy is all it's not oil, because if you don't count Indorama and Dangote as oil, then you are skewing it. You are skewing it to non-oil, and that's where you get that oil has done. Because if you look at numbers today from the trade, from the numbers today, oil and non-oil are almost the same today in terms of almost the same.
I don't even agree with you.
I saw it on the.
I know you can educate your personal, but like I understand.
Okay.
We are divided. If that's the truth. On social media, we're divided, and unfortunately, a lot of people read economic news based on biases, and I understand that. But like I alluded, you cannot deny the fact that the government did better than the former administration to bring in some stability. However, we have seen some exaggeration and understatement. I think what the government should have been holding on is the fact that they brought in stability. Things would have gotten worse. They should have explained that the tax reforms definitely would really increase revenue. Now we have bigger headaches. How do you stabilize economic consumption? Ngozi said a beautiful job. She said a beautiful. She's not a politician. I was so surprised a lot of people were criticizing her. What she was really saying is that, we really need to understand that there's a form of stability if you look at the data. But the concern here is that the vulnerable Nigerians are not looking better. They don't seem better. Carl, if you look at, there's a data I saw from, was it WHO or UN, where more than half of the population cannot eat balanced diet. Now, it has a long ramification because, you need metabolism to be able to cook. You need to have metabolism for you to run basic human processes. You need to take milk for you to have for your blood to function properly and things like that. How many Nigerians take milk? How many Nigerians of those days, we were so addicted to pig milk that even taking 3 grams was an abomination. But these days now, it's really almost impossible for Nigerians for the average Nigerian household to get these things. So the question is, the lives of the average Nigerian is terrible. And that is why when sometimes I try to explain to people that on the macro side, there's an improvement in the economy, they get irritated because for their own lives, they can't see that. And it's understandable. The value of the currency, their purchasing power, their life expectancy reduced, the ability for them to get credit is still negligible. So I think where the government really needs to work on, and I think, I don't know, maybe because it's election year, I think they have to be aggressive on that, because my fear is that things are going to get worse.
Let me say something, right? I think that the government has done a very, very good job in stabilizing the economy. That's a true statement. I think if you look at, most people look at the dollar is gone up, and the subsidy has been removed. No, I took a lot of it. I'm telling people that Tinubu had no choice. It's not as if Tinubu woke up and said, I'm going to remove subsidy. There was really no choice. Buhari removed subsidy, then simply ran to CBN and printed 22 trillion. So that route was closed. When Tinubu became president, Tinubu has printed 7 trillion from Ways and Means. Buhari printed 22, Tinubu printed 7. But you can't keep on printing from Ways and Means. You understand? So Tinubu had to remove the subsidy and had to do the naira, move the sort of the dollar, and the economy, in effect, the macro side has been stabilized. That is a fact. We can argue the effect on consumption that is punishing us. I get it, yes, but the economy has been stabilized. I would want them to build from there, to stop and build from there. And say, okay, what should we do next? People are suffering. How can we go in and subsidize consumption, like you said? How can we make food cheaper? They've allowed food imports to come in a bit, and you can see the effect in Nigeria. The inflation coming down is because the government has allowed food imports to come in. We've been arguing this for over 2 years. They finally did it. You've seen the effect. Yes, local farmers will suffer, but we've got to get food inflation down so that interest rates can come down. So I give them that kudos. And again, you talk about the tax reform. Tax reform is going to be very major for revenue side 2026 because it will boost revenue. That's why he's boasting that it's not going to borrow locally again because of the tax reforms. I hope so. The fuel tax one, they should not do it. They want to do it, they should not do it. It's wrong to do that. You've taken away the subsidy because you said you want to spend more of that money on the social welfare. Then why are you bringing back a 5% fuel tax? To say that it's not you that brought the tax, it's always been there. If it's not you that brought the tax back, why didn't you scrap it like you scrapped the other taxes? Why are you bringing it back in? So we don't care when it's going to be implemented. If it's going to be implemented, it's going to be a cost on the Nigerian household. We should not pay 5% tax after you have removed your subsidy. That's double punishment. But let's get others to speak with him. They've got Oxley, we've got Cyrus, and we've got Roy. Let Oxley hop in real quick. Oxley.
Yes, I'm here, Paulo.
Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, so I think it's pretty well. So my only concern is, people have been happy on this food prices is down, food prices are down. Yes, that's true. But at what cost? At what cost is the food price down? So the question I want to ask you guys is, yes, they needed to bring down the inflation, they needed to bring down consumer pricing, which is inflation anyway. But what about all the things that we need during the Buhari era, particularly on rights? At some point, there was not even this idea, there was nobody bringing the rights. The right was, the brother was bringing the rights. So, what are they doing? It's like they're telling you, I just wanted to ask, what is the cost? Are we trying to bring down this inflation? Are we telling the local food market, the local farmers, the local supply chain of rice and other stuff? So at the end of the day, because I don't agree, at one point I don't want to do the cost. Because you can't continue to do the border.
Oxley, so sorry, your audio is kind of breaky, but I think I got what you are asking at what cost. You also said what happened to the gains under the Buhari regime. Also, let me try to make it as simple as possible, right? Why is food very, very important in Nigeria? Food, right, in Nigeria is 57% of the average household spend in Nigeria. 57. So if you can reduce food price in Nigeria, you have given everybody a salary increase. That's number one. Number two, food is 51% back then of the consumer price index in Nigeria. 51. It's now been reduced to about 40%. That means to fight inflation, you must bring food prices down. So we've made this argument with them before. Because of the insecurity in Nigeria, food output locally has dropped. It has dropped. Remember there was Kebbi and Lagos Lake Rice. Kebbi is under, they have some issues with insecurity. So the volume, of course, will go down. Middle Belt has issues. The volume will go down. So because there's a drop in that output, you have to import to fill the gap. Buhari closed the borders without the capacity to grow locally. In America, they've closed their borders, but they can grow locally. You don't close the borders to what you cannot grow. That will make the prices go up. So what we need to do now is to do short, medium, and long term. Short term, 6 months, import food. Let food prices go back down. Let it go back down to the level of just this insecurity, right? Medium term, you are hoping the military guys can take on these insecurity issues and take it out of the way. So you can do investment in value chain. because long term you can't import food forever. But if there's insecurity, that's what's going to happen. This GMO topic you are hearing all over social media is because GMO is cheaper, quote unquote, to organic food. That's why GMO is being talked about. If GMO is cheaper, Nigerians would buy it. Whether it is going to genetically modify them, they don't care. Because they have to eat first of all before they worry about genes. So the point is food prices have got to come. If you fix food prices in Nigeria, you fix inflation, you fix consumption, you fix poverty. You've done a lot with just one keystone. That's what the Tinubu is trying to do with the food imports. But even he knows that even if you allow just local imports to come in, you are killing your economy, because agriculture is the largest contributor to Nigeria's economy, both in terms of GDP contribution and employment. So you can't kill farmers because you want cheap food. So it's a balancing act. Would you want us to starve to support local farmers? Or do we import food? Local farmers maybe go unemployed for a few years, but with the whole economy, it's a balancing act. There is no right answer to do this. Food is now a security issue. That's not army and police issue. If we don't take up the bandits, we're in big trouble. That's one thing we don't talk about here because we're in the economic space, but that's the key elephant in the room. That there has to be insecurity brought down to a level where farmers can go to the farm and harvest. 80 guys were buried in Yobe last week. They are paying ransoms before you can harvest food. You can't grow an economy like that. Now forget power supply. Forget anything. If you can't eat, which power are you going to use to work in the factory? So also, good point you've made, but I think that's where they are going to. You've got to bring down the cost of food in Nigeria before you can talk about AI or power or anything else. Food coming down means bag of rice 25,000 naira. That's food coming down, not 25k for a bag of rice. Then we can talk. But good points. Cyrus, jump in real quick, sir. Cyrus, how you doing?
Yeah, welcome to the space. Good evening. Interesting conversation. I always like having conversation around these, and there is a lot to unwrap and so many things to talk about. But I think I will just focus mainly on, I think as a country, I don't know whether it's something in our psyche that we are so focused on the revenue of the government. I've said this thing before, than we are what gets to our own pockets. I personally don't care about what the government earns, except what is earned, has to do with what want to get from me in taxes and whatnot. So, and the reason is that we always use the metric of revenue to measure success. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really affect me, you, or the other guy, in terms of service delivery or good roads or infrastructure or investment, because we know where all this money is going to. They are not spending it on any of these things. They are spending it on themselves. So why should I really care about what they earn? But that's just being, cynical to put it that way. I think the issue is that we really don't know how much problem we have, going forward in terms of 2026. Because right now, the government has a mid-term expedition framework that covers about $21 billion in debt, in real debt, in the next 2 years, right? So they are looking to borrow more money bilateral loan from the Exim Bank of China, from World Bank, from other places where they can get the money, including Japan, right? So we are going to see this canvassing for different loan and security. And like you mentioned earlier, that most of the capital inflow into the country has been tied to debt. And this debt also comes with interest payment, which we call debt servicing. And if DMO is being honest and being transparent with people, releasing the report per time, we'll see how much of our external debt, including treasury bills and bonds and bilateral loans, how much of the debts, how much of our revenue is going to this debt servicing, right? Because we now have a very weak currency. So for me, I fear that, and the issue about tax, if we start digging and delving into that,
Cyrus, I'm losing you. It's cracking up. Your voice audio is cracking up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're cracking up. Olumide, yeah.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Olumide, he's gone back to this issue about, do you think it's deliberate where we're not getting data? Because it's very, very hard not to get data. I posted it today this morning. NBS report, you go there, they tell you quarter two trade reports, you can't get it. It's there. There's a link. You hit that link. It's telling you to download an app from Apple Store to get it. Before, these things were like easy. You can get them. There are no reports to verify anything, right? We don't know how much we're paying out in debt service currently. We know what we paid last year. We don't know today.
I will tell you the DMO site for
DMO is just giving us the debt as at what we have state federation. Yeah, the breakdown is what I want. I want to get what we are making, what we're spending. DMO doesn't offer that. It just gives you the debt picture. Yeah, that's what that number. That's what I want. But let's get Error. Error is here. Error 404. That's an interesting name. Error, how you doing?
Yeah, hello, Carlo. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, first things please, I would like to apologize because I want to drag you guys out from this topic. Just a quick one. I've been trying to find a platform in Nigeria that offers fixed index annuity investments. I've not been able to. I actually came on Twitter.
Fixed index annuities. Do we offer that? That's a question. Real quick, I think annuities, do we even offer that? Because insurance companies with the PFAs, you can buy an annuity or you can buy the program withdrawal. That's the only place you can get it. I don't think they offer it. Fixed index to what now? That's the question.
Majorly in the Europe and the US markets, this
equity or debt?
Equity stocks.
So that's going to be a fixed variable.
Yes, fixed or variable. The only ones I've been able to find in some of our insurance companies are just
they offer it.
Annuity.
They offer it. What they do is that the insurance company just here to buy a whole life. That whole life then has a reserve account where they invest in variable stocks, but they don't tell you it's a fixed a variable annuity. But you are buying a fixed because they are buying equity with your money. You don't know where they're buying though. You can't look at their books. It's not like how you watch your quotes in America where you can get a fixed variable. You pay that 6%, or you get that if market falls, you get that bridge. Not here. But I wouldn't try to look for it here. I would just go, you want to get exposure to the Nigerian market through mutual funds or ETF, forget about the insurance side because you are buying that market with a huge cost if you do go that way.
I don't know why is he hedging with that? What is his concept? Why is it because Nigerian what you're reading?
I'm just trying to explore the Nigerian market because I already have something up in the European, so I was thinking maybe
if you have something up and big, because it looks like you're based abroad, you go look for
I'm in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have it. Simple answer. We don't have it. You can do it through them, but you are doing it at a huge cost. You see what I'm saying? Like in essence, you want to buy, say, the NGX 30. You can get that from a mutual fund in Nigeria. If you go to an insurance company, they're going to get the same thing, but they're going to pay their costs. With a mutual fund, they're just going to pay the mutual fund's cost. So why go give an insurance company your money when you're going to just pay their investment analyst? They're going to pay their own cost when you're getting the exact same thing in a mutual fund in Nigeria. So there's no.
And I think this is a retail investor. I think it's not even if you look at liquidity factor and look at the financial requirement for that kind of transaction. I don't think you want to.
Nigeria, keep it simple. We have ETFs, but I don't even recommend ETFs. I only always say that there's no volume in ETFs. Keep it simple. Do mutual funds.
I have some ETFs that have not been able to sell.
In Nigeria, ETFs don't really quote unquote work that way. Just keep it simple. Mutual funds for Nigeria. There's money market for equities. Just go to mutual fund. There are a few of them. IBTC, them. Afri Invest, Mutual, all those guys, UBA, they have just get one of them. Mary Stern.
You are very liquid, Standard Chartered, Stanbic. Yeah, you can see any sophisticated, all these ones. In fact, if you really want to go into all those sophisticated ETFs where you can hedge, you can do triangles, you you can go to those guys to position that you ask a premium TV dollar, but to ask you for a premium.
Keep it
So you
simple.
can definitely put that here.
No problem. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, sir. Velele, what's up, man? Is that
I'm good. Guys, good everything to everyone. I have very serious issues over here. I have very serious issues. Guys, this delayed, reporting of what these guys are doing with our budget. Like, is there a reason why when we talk about it, we just use big English? I'm confused, right? Because let me tell you a story, right? Story that did not happen. So I give my brother money to start a business. Right, and he says he's going to use it to do X, Y, Z over an entire year. He does not tell me what he's using the money to do. It's my money. It's not his money. Right? It's like he's not telling me what he's using the money to do. The next year he asks for another money. The next year he asks for another money. Like, is there a reason why nobody is talking about it? Is this thing not if somebody says the word criminal intent, are they being too harsh? Like, what is going on, guys? I'm trying to understand. It has literally just become normal. It's like budget implementation report is due. Don't send it. It's like it's a normal thing. It's like, don't send it. You don't need to send it. It's not. We didn't send it last time. We didn't send it the time before that. We didn't send it the time before that. It's now normal. Like, what am I missing? Was there a law passed somewhere that I'm unaware of? Like, I want to understand what is going on, guys, because it doesn't make any sense. People are spending our money and they don't tell us what is going on. This means that they might as well be doing any other shady thing and there's no way to check them. Guys, if I'm missing something, tell me, man. Just tell me.
No, I mean, your passion is there. We hear your passion. I think because we're in this space, we need that information to do our job. We don't get that information, and we've asked, and it's not as if we're telling the truth. The information is not out there. I don't think it's criminal. Maybe it's incompetence. Maybe it's just like a lackadaisical, not criminal per se. But I wish they would get it out there because it does. Without that information, like we said, the president said, "I've met my target." We don't know how to challenge that question. Because we have nothing. The latest report in Nigeria across the board is April, and that's from the CBN. If you go to the federal government's own record database, the latest report they have on the budget implementation is Q3 2024. We're in Q3 2025. So we have from 2024 last year, we don't know what's going on till today on implementation of the budget. It doesn't make any sense. I agree with you, but I think more when we talk on space like this and we put them on, because they read the stuff, they read it, and they will say we need to have information. I don't want okay, if you're 1 quarter behind, that's fine, but not 3 quarters behind. What are we doing there?
But I think I will share you some data report because I was able to get it for Coco Nonet. The thing about this is that
did he give it to you? He gave it to you personally or how?
Oh no.
Is it Coco of
agencies?
From which agency? Which agency? Which one?
Coco, for example, Coco's exports, for example, first quarter.
No, we get that from MBS gives us trade numbers. So MBS trade numbers are like maybe a quarter behind. Trade numbers are fine. That's why I can see that the trade for oil is 3 times the trade for non-oil. MBS does a good job in that. But the point with MBS is that their data they just released, I think it was yesterday or so, the link is not opening. The Q2 2025 link is not opening.
The president will definitely have some have the
it's not hard now. If you're a quota company and then Nigeria Stock Exchange asks you to submit reports, you don't submit reports, they sanction you heavily. This is not hard to do. It's taxpayers' monies. You should be able to give taxpayers information. We shouldn't be asking for it. We shouldn't be. How can the federal government tell people to submit reports to it when the federal government's own budget report is Q3 2024? That's too far out.
I don't get you. Are you saying Q3 2024 you've not gotten any?
The latest report that the federal government has released for budget implementation is Q3 2024.
Yeah. Like you just said, we're running through. This has been an historical problem.
That's why we need to get the report. If we're running through budgets, we need to see that report so we can analyze these 2 or 3 budgets that we're running.
It has been a problem for a long while.
Under Okonjo, where it was on they released it on time. It was on point, and she was releasing even more. She was releasing how much she gave to the states, local government. She released a lot of data. It's because of her We know that states get this amount of money, local governments release more and on time. So they can do it if they want to. How does the president know he has made his revenue target? Someone gave me a report, Abi. So why can't we get that same report?
It will be released. We hope it should be released.
Amen.
Okay. Just like you said, I think the advantage Ngozi would have brought to the markets then was market integrity and transparency, efficiency was so fast. We'll not be able to have that since she left office. So, I think we should not worry too much on that. But it totally makes sense on that. We need to have at least a quarter behind, just like the Americans. I don't think the Americans go to quarter behind.
Friday, you wait and see the employment report in America. It's on schedule. You have to get it because you can't plan without it. Let's quickly go to Bumi, then we'll come back to Cyrus. Bumi Bailey.
Then, Carl, before Bumi comes on board, I think there's something else we need to talk about. I think, to be honest, I think we can address food inflation if we really have a serious agricultural minister and the way the oil sector was transformed. Because I looked at oil theft numbers and I was amazed.
It's down.
Was that a good job to whoever did it, whether the Nigerian Navy or they really did a good job.
It's just corruption. They just address the corruption. Kudos to them. Kudos to them. Like you said, let's give them kudos. They addressed oil theft. It is down, but oil output is still down. So they've done the easy one. They've done the hard one, but they haven't done the easy one. So let's give them kudos. Yes. NSA. What's his name? NSA. Congratulations on releasing that oil theft. Bumi, hi. Glad to have you.
So funny. Thank you for speaking about food because it actually just brought my attention. So I don't know if inflation will be out tomorrow. And the last inflation numbers, I think for July, I noticed that food inflation rose for the second time, like consecutive months, right? And it's actually the highest in 5 months. And there's all news about how inflation has come down and food inflation is rising. And then I remember you talked about insecurity. And I remember the agriculture sector, because even before they released the rebase data, NBS, agriculture was growing below, it was almost close to 0%, like not even up to 2%. And it was very annoying. It's not only agriculture, you have manufacturing and all the major real sectors of the economy that you have the number. And I was like, are people not seeing that that these numbers are going down? Right? I remember I talked about it when I had a TV appearance then, maybe last year, talking about food insecurity. And I'm like, people are not seeing these numbers. Agriculture is actually going close to below 1%, and nobody was talking about it. And then you have the issue about the budget. I'm sorry, but it's not a new thing for me, Carlo. Like, I remember when I started journalism in 2017, I would always track a budget implementation number from the budget office just to see how, in terms of the actual pro rata and co like that, right? I would say that, like you said, you're right. The last one we had is Q3 2024. And if you notice this administration, I don't know, maybe we should say, in terms of delayed reports, like, I don't know what's happening. How can we keep track of what's happening on the performance? Like you said, the president is saying, we've done this. How can we track? Because as journalists, right, we always try to, hold the government accountable, but we always have to be factual. You said something, this is the evidence, let us track it. Apart from that, you also have, even though this not relates to budget, you have the GDP. Yeah. Right? I mean, September is the end of the third quarter. We've only seen Q1 since they released the rebased figure. That was in, I think, July or August or the middle of August. So you can see that they've disorganized the calendar. Like, even if they have a calendar, even if the budget office has a calendar, they don't keep track to the calendar, and it creates a bit of inconsistency. And are we now seeing a trend where we don't have up-to-date data or accurate data?
Mama, do you think it's on purpose?
I don't think so. I think it is, because in my own opinion, if you've noticed the trade reports, if the latest reports they are seeing is Q2 trade. Right?
Which we can't open. We can't open that Q2 trade. We can see it, but we can't open it.
That is, in fact, I don't know why the NBS site has been so you can't really access the data than.
Oh, the site was hacked. Their site was hacked, so they don't have the website. And if you want to get that, go to their Twitter, not the website. The website is something.
Like, it's so difficult to navigate their sites.
Yeah.
I mean,
their website is something else. You don't go there.
I don't think you know that too. Ever since NBS published kidnapping data, if you remember.
Oh, look, that's open the kind of
because and it's so bad because other countries look forward to looking at the data for Nigeria to see what is happening. They don't believe what you are saying. Now, Q1 GDP, right? The last time it was out in August. When will Q2 be released? Because even before they rebase the data, right? I mean, for example, the first quarter of every the first quarter of, let's say, this 2025, it comes out, let's say, the full year comes out in February. The first quarter comes in around around May, and the second quarter comes in August, and the third quarter comes in November. So you have that calendar. They were consistent and they were accurate. But now we don't even know when the Q2 will be out.
True.
Or when the Q3 will be. The same as the budget office.
And we don't know that, and then they are pumping out information on Twitter. So you see what's good as an asymmetric information release. We don't get the official numbers, but on Twitter, if you go to Twitter, you see reports every day. Nigeria has exported more oil than Venezuela. You see all these reports, but you can't go and get the official report. It doesn't make sense to me.
Exactly. So that's why most times, if I don't see the report itself, I'm not going to just go by what you say. I will just, because I'll be able to criticize and analyze the data. But for me, I think that it is now here to stay. If you say that we can't just hope that it's going to be solved. Right, but for now, it's here to stay. And I feel like maybe they are trying to hide something. Because why are they not consistent? Like, why are they dragging all this important data that people look up to? You understand? Because many journalists, of course, will go into numbers and crunch it. So that's why I'm not surprised that the trade data is out, because it's a surplus. The reporting surplus.
Exactly. Let me show you. Let me give you guys a scenario. Let me paint a scenario for you. Has foreign reserves gone up? Foreign reserves have they gone up?
From quotation, it has gone up.
They have. No, hold on. Let me land though. So they have. If you go to the CBN site, the foreign reserves has gone up, and it's on the CBN site as at today. Okay, what is the net foreign figure? The net foreign reserve figure. Is it out? But it's funny that the call number is out and it's realistic as at today. Because the website today, you see the FX reserve has gone up and it's on the website today. But if you want to find out I know now, I'm making Bumi's point. Bumi has made a point. I was trying to follow up upon that. If you want to see the good data, any data that is good is out. Trade report is surplus is out. FX reserve has gone up, is out. When you ask about the composition of trade report, it's not out. The composition of the FX report is not out. So there's a bit of a pattern here. Once the reports are good, they are out.
No, I think what Bumi really said made a lot of sense, because
I know what she went to say.
One of the things I like about the American space is that you memorize every time. Like, for example, I can tell you when the sales data is coming out. When the Fed, CPI, it's been tracked all year. Even when there's alteration, you get the feedback. And what it does is that it brings efficiency to the market.
Yeah.
Investors can really plan. They can the feedback and things like this. So when there's this background, that is why there's chaos on social media, because everybody is a journalist. Like Bumi said, she writes for Financial Business Day.
I was going to ask her her view on the economy. I know where she ran to. I was going to ask her her view on the economy and all that.
So it's really,
Bumi, come back.
I think the government needs to work on the business, and I think that's one of the things, because people the positive sides of this administration are not being well publicized.
True.
Because the way they do it sometimes, I feel like it's a bit amateurish. And I think they need to take a cue from
they should employ an economic guy on Twitter that will talk. They can employ you, so that will come out and
they have a lot of people in their party, for example.
They don't have any. The guys that are there now, the media team, don't know anything about economics. If you talk, they abuse you. all the guys there they don't understand a thing about economics.
I actually think they need to understand that talking about the economy requires a different type of temperament, the use of data, and the ability to simplify. Because sometimes when you put in 600 words on Twitter, it just slap, because the idea of Twitter was not for 600 words. The idea of Twitter
was press conference,
information for the populace to be able to grab, understand. And if you want to claim your success thesis or PhD project, you put it on Bloomberg or FT, and that is how professional. Have you seen US Treasury Secretary, for example, doing a 900 pages on one policy?
Look at their response to the tweet about that the projects are going to Lagos. They put out a tweet and said excluding Lagos. Someone approved that. Let's release this tweet to the public and let's put excluding Lagos. They said Lagos is taking money from federal government in excess of other regions. You said, okay, we're going to respond to you, but we'll exclude Lagos from our response. Doesn't make any sense. That's kindergarten stuff.
That's why I really don't like to talk about it. Sometimes, even when I'm right, when I see anything that goes about tribe or religion from the economic side, and I see it gets to the dark side of it.
But it's not a tribal issue. The point I'm making is that one region is getting. It's not tribal to say one state is getting more in the federal pot. And I think it's an argument. They can come out and say Lagos is getting more because Lagos has got legacy assets.
The intention. I'm not supporting. I'm trying, because for me, when I see things like this, I look at what was the intention before I make my own judgment. I'm not trying to be on the side of, because practically, you need to understand that the president has a soft spot for Lagos. Any blind man understands that. And you need to understand that Lagos had, from federal FD allocation for a long period of time, had been behind. But what I don't like about this is that it seems like even the Southwest that a lot of people think that are benefiting, they are not. Because if you look at the context, if you look at allocation, and look at the way things are going, it's not as high. But that's why they try to paint it in the fact that, let's exclude Lagos, so that people can really see that. I think what the government needs to do is to want an inclusive government. And that is why I said that, see, it is not about merit. Federal character is a big deal in Nigeria. If you look at Obasanjo, there was a time, even we had in the finance committee, the Solutu Ngozi from the South, but people didn't really complain because we really saw that the president's body language was to unify the country. So yes, Tinubu can be said to be a nationalist, but his body language is not showing that. And that's why a lot of people are like, you're packing this to Lagos. It seems Lagos is taking everything. So anything that seems to sound Lagos, it puts them on another. So that's why the government is on a defensive mood. You see the problem? So the problem is self-induced. They created it by themselves, so they have to solve it by themselves. But I think to solve these things in larger way is to want an inclusive system where every Nigerian feels that they have a stake in this sport.
Gotcha. Let's get Cyrus. Thanks for hanging in there, Cyrus. Let's go, Cyrus, and we'll come to Spartan, and then we'll do us as well.
Thank you very much, Kalu, and thank you, Lumide. Nice clarification there. For me, I think the whole thing about national character, federal, whatever, should be thrown into dustbin and forgotten there. Those things don't have any material value to the life and livelihood of an average Nigerian. They don't mean anything, right? If you have a lopsided policy that is favored towards a particular region, a particular state, people should call that out on the basis of the principle of equity and fairness. That has nothing to do with federal character or anything, because that just distorts the conversation. Now, back to the issue of data and whatnot. Like I was saying earlier, that we are, the way I look at things, and people have been talking about the tax reform. Yes, tax reform is a huge bailout for government. Like, I believe that, but it's not a huge bailout for an average Nigerian. A friend of mine on this page on this page goes something about it that says the primary philosophy of this particular tax reform is revenue driven, not productivity driven. Like, tax is used for certain things, like tax is used to spur revenue increase, like to manage or regulate people's behavior. Like, for example, if you don't want people to use tobacco or take alcohol, you put taxes on them and whatnot. But it's also used as a mechanism to drive growth and to drive productivity and investment and capital retention. That, I don't think that is a huge part or a huge emphasis, like in this reform approach, in the what the old taxing are talking about. Because most of the tax reliefs and incentive that has been introduced by this government is targeted at the low-income earners. Now, not to say that that is not good, it is very good. Low-income earner needs some break, needs some relief. I don't think, for example, somebody should set up a shop in where I live in Lagos and has to pay 7-8 taxes to non-state actors, right? Or things like that, yes. Or even the such charge for fuel tax that Carl was talking about, I think is regressive. I agree completely with that. But if that is only what you do as a tax reform, you've not really done anything in terms of incentivizing people to invest.
Cyrus, can I just ask you a question, please, so to educate us? Can you name the tax policies? Because I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. Like, can you name tax policies targeted at the poor, direct taxes?
He's saying the opposite. He's saying that only the poor are exempted. That's what I heard him say.
Okay. I'm saying that the incentive, the emphatic incentive by this particular tax reform is targeted at the poor. The relief that they are giving, the tax credit and the reduction of tax they are giving is targeted at the low income earners. Those guys need it, absolutely yes, but they are not the ones that will invest. When you need deep pocket capital and deep pocket investment in critical areas like energy, like agriculture, like manufacturing, the Dangotes and the hoteliers of this world, you need to give them certain tax breaks and tax credits and reduction of taxes to incentivize them not to take their capital to other places. We see someone like Dangote, for example, exploring different regions like Ethiopia, Ghana, and otherwise. So for me, I'm not going to go into the details of the tax itself because I'm not a tax expert.
I know.
But what I see.
But Cyrus, I just want to come back to what you're saying. Look at Rabiu and Dangote alone. Dangote covered the economy space. They in a year, like in 2024, based on results, they got to earn $3 billion in dividends. Now look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk is worth $419 billion. If you look at Bloomberg data, the only time when Elon Musk wants to raise money higher than $500 million, it has to sell equities, or he has to go through them, and he has to go to multinationals like Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, which is usually declared. So what I'm saying is that if you look at the fact that just two people, the wealth of two people alone cover more than half of the population, are you saying that is fair? Because you're saying where are they carrying their money to that for so many years the richest people in Nigeria, if you look at the tax holidays and the tax evasion that has happened in the country, how has it benefited Nigeria? Because these guys have been enjoying for a long time. So we need to really understand certain things that no country in the world will allow two people to earn $3 billion while many Nigerians cannot even balance diet. Some Nigerians on this space have not taken milk for days. Some Nigerians on this space have not eaten sardine. So we need to look at the context of what is economic consumption all about. Is it for certain people or the general world?
Okay. Thank you very much, Olumide. I think that was why I started by saying you have to understand the objective of a tax reform. If you want to use it as a mechanism to drive revenue inflow, well, I can agree with your point. But if you want to use it as a mechanism to drive productivity and investment and capital retention in your country, then you cannot have a tax that is targeted at those who have deep pockets that can invest. That to me is counterproductive to growth. That's what I'm trying to say. And to just buttress the point forward is that a rich man can absorb 30%, 40% tax, right? What he will do is to cut cost, right? So he's not going to invest as much as he used to. He's not going to take as much risk as he used to. And he's not going to employ more middle class and probably low-income earners as he used to. So he's not going to be affected by it as much as those who benefit from his enterprise or his industry or whatnot. So it's not going to be $100 that is it. If you tax $100 or Rabiu or Dangote or whatnot, the other one that will be affected is basically those who work with them that will be affected. The cost of production, the cost of capital and everything in between. So if you want to make a social justice point, to say that the tax should be higher because they get more from Nigeria, and they don't get this money from their investments. They get the money from the capital market. They get the money from dividends, from equities. They don't really get the money, from the profit that comes from doing business or things like that. So for me, and to even add to this, Dangote pay more taxes than 30-40% of Nigerians. There was a particular interview that I saw that he said for every 100 naira he makes on all his enterprise in the country, 40 naira out of it goes to the government, whether directly or indirectly.
Cyrus,
I
think both of you are actually correct. Like, you're right, Cyrus, the reliefs are for the poor in Nigeria. I think you're right on that. And you are asking that this relief should also go to the job creators, because poor people don't create jobs, rich people create jobs. I think both of you and Olumide are actually right. And I think Olumide, I think block you. You can speak. I'm just saying that I also agree that there should be a lot of exemptions for quote-unquote job creators, not just rich people, but also job creators. This tax act is going to give a lot of exemptions to the poor, which is very, very good. And I think if you earn, I think the number, when I did my calculation, if you earn above 19 million, your taxes are going to go up in Nigeria. If you earn above 19 million, that's per annum. But I think both of you are right. We have to reform the taxes. It's been too archaic all these years. So just to reform, the way they've done it now, you have to go buy exemptions. I did a space on that. If you want to reduce your taxes, contribute more to pensions, go buy a house. Go rent a house. Go rent a house, buy health insurance, contribute to pensions. You can bring your taxes down. But overall, I think we've gone past the stage of taxing televisions, and we should start to tax maybe incomes. I think both of you are completely right on that score. If you want to take Osasu, Obayuwana, Mr. Obayuwana. How you doing, sir?
Good evening, my sparring partner. How has it been?
I'm doing very well, sir. Doing very well. Did you travel? Did you go to the US? Where have you been?
No, I was in South Africa last week. I was in Morocco for the whole of July. I was in Tanzania for the whole of August. So yeah, busy.
Lifestyle of the 1%. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I wish. The truth of the matter is, tax means very little when there is no productivity in the economy. The big issue I have with Tinubu is that he focuses so much on collecting taxes and very little on increasing the productivity that actually brings about increase in taxation revenue. So I really don't know how these tax changes will bring about benefits if there is no increased productivity. Where is the increased productivity coming from? This is the question, for those of us who are not economists, but at least have some basic understanding of how an economy works, are asking. Maybe you can tell me this, because I've always said that in any normal country, if you want people to take risks, get involved in setting up. Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm going to do what you want me to do. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Is that okay now? Is that fine now?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, better now.
Okay. Sorry about that. So what I was just saying is, in any normal country, young people, you want to start a business, you don't have income, you can go to the bank will give you money, single-digit interest rate. It enables you to actually start your business, make some money, get some profits, have enough money to repay the loan to the bank at a rate that doesn't kill the business. All these things don't exist in Nigeria. They don't exist. And I don't see how we can really get the economy moving for innovative people, for young people who have all the energy but don't have access to capital. Because everything seems to be all geared towards keeping interest rates high in order to reduce inflation. Nobody is talking about the consequences of keeping this policy, ad infinitum. We really need to think about all these things.
Yeah, I mean, I hear where you're coming from. You know, the way I look at it in Nigeria, right? Those policies that they actually exist. There are laws in Nigeria that says if you go to your village and you set up a company in your village and there's no power supply from the government and no water from the government, you shouldn't pay taxes. I think they've scrapped it under this bill. I am not sure, but those laws actually did exist in Nigeria. But I take the view that the best way the government can give you or can boost productivity is just to provide the infrastructure, the basic infrastructure for the small, medium enterprises, the nanos and smalls to take off. What I mean is this: power supply, insecurity, low taxes, rule of law, patent protection. That's what the small business need. That if I put up a sign that says I want to do Kalu Agile business, the next day I don't get a visit from the local government asking me to pay for sewage and for all this. If there's power supply that I can start my laptop and I can communicate, I can get water, I can do parking, I can do a signage without being taxed to death. That's the best support that the government can give me. The way it works in Nigeria is that every business is seen as an ATM at local and state governments. You know, if you set up a business today, you are going to be taxed, whether you've made a kobo, whether you haven't made a kobo, and it's going to be multi-taxes. If you want to park a car, you pay a tax. You put a signboard, you pay a tax.
That's why I was saying that there is so much emphasis on collection of revenue.
You are correct.
And little or no emphasis on increasing productivity and increasing the income of Nigerians. It's just not happening.
I agree with you, and I just think I'm agreeing with you that that's what we need to focus more on, like to say how can we allow a small scale guy, a guy that has 500,000 naira that wants to do a skit. You see all these kids now, they do skits. To do skits now in Lagos, you pay. To do a skit, they will charge you. You pay this, you pay that. The guys will come. So if those guys can't do a skit and make money because there's no jobs in the economy, what can they do? If you want to start a business, you have to pay this guy. You want to start a small stall just to sell orange, you pay local government, you pay market stall. It's too expensive to do business in Nigeria. That's the point. And at the very base level.
Yeah, but can I add something to what Osazu said? Osazu, sorry. Good evening. If you look at the government's arguments, and you look at historical data of Nigeria Federation, you know, the context of the aid that efficiently and utilize resources, I'm talking of capital allocation. You look at Lagos and understand why those things happen. You know, despite the fact that at some point they were fighting with the federal, even when they were in the opposition party, they had some form of liquidity, yes, business activity. Now, the argument is that Nigeria's tax to GDP is among the lowest in the world. In fact, if you look at the rank of 190 countries, I think 187, so it's barely at the bottom. Even when you
how much of the average Nigerian earn? What do they earn?
God bless you. So this is the argument. The argument is that they want to sell.
Sorry, please. Apologies for interrupting. Is it still the same thing with the rebased GDP? Now that our GDP is out, are we still going to say that the tax on GDP is the same?
It's gone up a bit now, right?
But it's still among the lowest. It will be a bit higher. Because last time I think they said 7 to 11. I can't remember the accurate number. But let me drive this point so that people can understand what I'm saying. So you need to understand that we have fiscal discipline for quite some time. And, you know, after the era of Ngozi, our tax GDP has been rising. We've been borrowing. So the government has been looking inward. How can we really generate revenue? You understand? Yes, oil, but you have to also look at that way. And you look at a country like America. America makes most of the federal government makes most of its revenue from taxes. So yeah, you really make a lot of sense the fact that our middle class is almost extinct. However, if you look at the fair share of what Nigeria's richest, the upper middle class pay compared to frontier markets and different markets, it's still much lower. So what the government is trying to do, if you look at the optics, if you look at the increments, it's not something that looks like massive. It's just capital efficiency. So I'll give you an example. you look at the fact that, okay, you're running your personal account with 30, 50 million naira, it's not going to be like that again, because you need to explain where those funds are coming from. You know, I stay in the advanced college, for example, and when there's a transaction that hits my personal account, I have to explain to the bank or the government. So it's something that now becomes legitimate. Because, to be honest to you, the average Nigerian is exempted from tax in the capital market. Nobody trades, very few people trade above 100 million naira a year. So what we should be talking is after 2026 that, okay, now after you injected these funds, utilization, because a lot of people are more concerned about utilization, because if utilization is done effectively, it boosts the integrity. And that's why I said that government should encourage people within their system to openly declare tax before they run for offices. For example, you want to become a governor, you make tax declaration. So even if you want to declare it personally, you could get the approval from the Nigerian Revenue Service. So things like that will encourage the populace. I think, to be honest to you, I think for me, I don't see anything bad in what they're doing. I think where the real onions is the utilization and how effective it's going to be in the longer run.
Yeah, I mean, we can just summarize it as follows: that the tax reforms are good, and I think in effect, if they use the taxes to grow productivity, we're all going to be happy. I want the taxes to go back to fix the roads, to fix power, to fund the judiciary. That's what I want taxes to go for. I don't want that's the problem, Osa. That's the problem. They don't. That's the problem. That's why we're all apprehensive. There's a trust deficit. We talked about, Osa, talked about Ethiopian dam over on Twitter this last week. When I researched that dam, I was shocked. I gave let me give you the backstory. Somalia, when Somalia was still a vibrant country, Somalia invaded Ethiopia. Right? The largest state in Ethiopia is called, let's just call it Somaliland, is the largest state in Ethiopia. So Somalia invaded Ethiopia, Ethiopia won the war. But after the war, imagine what they did to Somalis in Ethiopia. They were second-class citizens. Let's just call it what it is. Imagine if your country invades you and you have Somalis in Ethiopia. So they were second-class citizens in Ethiopia. Fast forward to when they wanted to build this dam, this is the Renaissance Dam. The government started to sell tax bonds to Ethiopians to fund the dam, because the Western guys didn't want to fund the dam. Egypt had put pressure on them. So they were funding that dam themselves. So Ethiopians were contributing to build that dam. The Somalis that live in that Somaliland in Ethiopia also contributed. These were the quote-unquote rebels that the government of Ethiopia had been marginalizing. They also contributed to build that Renaissance Dam. Why? Because they also wanted power supply to come to Somaliland. Why? There was a trust credit. The government of Ethiopia, even though they were not Somalians, the Somalians that are Ethiopian citizens still contributed to build that dam, because they will get power. So I talked about it. If you do that same thing in Nigeria now sells dollar bonds in Nigeria. If you come to Nigeria and you say you want to build a railway from Lagos to Calabar, they're going to sell bonds. So what will happen? If I pray to God that what is happening on Twitter doesn't affect that bond, because what will you hear? Oh, let those people go to their state and do their bond. Oh, go to your place and do that bond. That's the difference between us and Ethiopia. We are richer than Ethiopia, but they could build a $5 billion dam largely from taxing themselves. The Ethiopian diaspora, the Ethiopians in Ethiopia, the Somalis, Ethiopians contributed. Can we say the same here in Nigeria? So that trust deficit is a very, very big thing. When we don't trust ourselves on Twitter, it flows into the economy. Big issue. We have to get rid of it. All this nonsense, tribalism and bigotry, it will affect us economically.
It will. And it disturbs me greatly that when we have conversations about the state of Lagos, the lack of infrastructure in Lagos, the need to drastically improve the infrastructure of Lagos. Imagine that a city of 20 million people plus has no central sewage system.
No subway.
Everyone has to have their own soakaway. If there is no potable water at the tap ready for drinking or use,
no subway.
last to buy. Let's not even, somewhere you're even going far. Let's even talk about the very basics of living. That you need a proper sewage system, you need a proper water supply. That Lagos doesn't have these things. And when we now say that, that for the last 25 years of democracy, we have not seen any movement in ending the system of open gutters in Nigeria's biggest metropolis. I can't understand how our politicians are not moving on these very basic things. It's sad. You were talking just now about how, in order for small-scale industries to set up, they need power. But when the power is so expensive, how can they afford it?
That's a different topic.
I mean, you cannot afford, because, I mean, when you have prices of electricity going from 60 kobo a kilowatt to over 200 naira a kilowatt, how can they afford it? Will the business be able to absorb that increase?
There's a report that, what was that number? There's a report that the private sector had dropped using PAT and NEPA. There's a report, I tweeted it, that the private sector in Nigeria has left only 13% of the organized private sector were still using the public power. There's a report that came out. And if that report is true, that tells that these guys are not going to be profitable, i.e. the discos and the other guys, because no one is using them. Everybody is going to use solar and all. So that's a big problem that's going to happen. Also, let's get some food to speak. We've got Spartan, I've got Ayodeji and the rest. The Spartan, go ahead. Also, so thank you so much. I appreciate you, sir. Spartan, you've got the floor. Spartan, if you're speaking, look at Mr. Ayodeji. How are you doing, Mr. Ayodeji?
Okay, thank you, Khalid. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I actually was still arguing some stuff out about the Nigerian economy recently. If there is anything to take home, right, is that we need a complete reorientation. We have been radicalized ideologically as a people. Even when you listen to most of our folks who supposedly have the knowledge of economics, what you hear is how to undermine themselves economically. And I say that when I speak to this whole idea of market determining this, market determining that, those things are not going to help an economy that needs a lot of support across the whole spectrum and in terms of classes of people in the economy. Those things have never helped any economy that intends, in the real sense, to grow, or at least to start. Because most often than not, we are caught up in this illusion of chasing growth that we mostly even refuse to start at all. And I will explain what I mean by that. While Buhari was doing the last year of his 8 years of shame and disgrace, I pointed some things out to show that the GDP figure in real terms has barely grown since I think he emerged in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. So what I was trying to tell people is that by the virtue of being in office, what Buhari has done is stagnated the Nigerian economy. Meanwhile, within the same time, it's understandable that our population might have grown more than it used to be, literally decreasing the per capita income across the economy. I also spoke extensively since Tinubu came into office, because what Tinubu has done, and I wrote an article on LinkedIn, I think I'll get it published with Business Day if I find the guy's email that I'm looking for. And unfortunately, Bailey's left before I came up. I would have loved to take a number because I think I lost it. So I will get that report published. And what I actually was pointing out in the report was the fact that every decade, the Nigerian economy, the politicians in power, they get the Nigerian working class people to pay for their own inefficiency. Meanwhile, when we go to the ballot, the Nigerian political class would always refuse the workers from determining who leads them. And I'm using workers and political elites for a very obvious reason. And how do they do this? Most often than not, what they do is they kill the pension that these folks are going to earn. They kill the gratuities that these folks are going to earn ahead by doing consistent devaluation, and even when they are not doing devaluation, by making decisions that alters the purchasing power of the Nigerian people. So when I was looking for some information recently, I have even forgotten. God is my witness. Because I have been out of the country for a while for some reasons. And I was looking to check how exactly the government, federal government particularly, was performing with respect to their budget implementation. What I'm trying to do is to see maybe just with all the talks going around, they are devoting more of the resources as budgeted or appropriated for towards capital expenditure. Because if there's anything that all of us have agreed on, is in the fact that we need to boost our infrastructure to ensure that the business environment is further improved. For instance, power, for instance, the road network, particularly urban and rural network. Consolidating on the rural network to ensure that whatsoever it is in production, in agriculture, that's coming out of those areas gets to the urban area easily. But what I found, to my dismay, was the fact that until recently, they had refused to release budget implementation reports since Q2 of 2024. I think the most recent one that I saw, while I was checking about 2 weeks ago, was Q3 2024. As bad as Buhari was, we got that in every other quarter. If we were in Q2, we were going to get Q1. Even when they were doing a lot of nonsense that we didn't agree with some of us, we still saw those reports.
Mr. Ayo, I don't want to cut you short. I mean, if you can sort of summarize it.
Yeah, I'm rounding up already. I've made so thank you. So what I'm trying to say in essence is these folks are window dressing everything. They have rebased the GDP. I think that's a valid thing to do. They also did something about reconstitution of the CPI basket, and later it came back because some of us pointed out that there was an error in some numbers that were not adding up, because if you are setting a base, I think the base should sum up probabilistically to 1. So they came and corrected those. But why exactly have they refused to release anything that we can point to officially that shows that, like some of us said when this whole thing was starting, that whatsoever in policy that they highlighted in their manifesto was not going to work? So anyway, I just think we are literally on our own, and the alternative courses that I see people suggesting do not also seem like something that will take us out of the doldrums. So I think particularly for folks who are economics major, amongst others, MA economics, amongst other things, we might need to start rethinking how we approach philosophically the Nigerian economy, so that we can at least, for the first time in a long while, get a kind of system where people talk about policies that protect the interests of the poor people, elevate poor people, and make their lives better, amongst other things. I will rest. Thank you.
Appreciate that, sir. Thank you, Mr. Ayodeji. Thank you so much. Let's get Spartan back in here. Ayo, I appreciate that. Spartan, can you speak now?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thanks for hopping in. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Carlo. So I've been listening to other speakers speak, and they've said some interesting thing, but I would like to say something a little bit different from what we've been saying. Just a slight deviation. So, Carlo, maybe it's just a suggestion to you. Maybe we could have a space around how governors are implementing the big, massive money they've been getting since Tinubu administration removed subsidy. That is just a different thing altogether. Because, Carlo, if you look at the metrics of Nigeria, we are in a very deplorable state. But I think one of the easiest way we can make it out of this deplorable state if state governors start functioning. As of today, right now, as we speak, you can easily just count the number of state governors that are functioning. Most of them are just operating a one-man show. If you look at it very critically, they operate a one-man show, just waiting for the next election cycle to begin again. And I mean, nothing goes on in this state. You understand? So, for example, if we're talking about power, as of 2022, a bill was passed that enabled state government to be able to generate their own power and also handle distribution. But as we are talking right now, how many state governors can we call, or many state government can we say have taken advantage of that opportunity? None. So you see, we could debate, have conversations around this thing, but if states are not really functioning, I know all when I get on Twitter, the conversations revolves around federal government. But I think we should pay attention to the states more. We should heap pressure on us to start asking questions and what are state governors doing with the massive funds they've been getting.
Can we do both?
Hello?
Can we do both? Can we do both?
We can do both, except but if you ask me, I would say, Carlo, that we should pay more attention to the state because they are closer to the government, they are closer to the people, rather, they're closer to the grassroots. Now that we have even the LG government getting their own budget, so they could do a whole lot more that will impact the people directly. Imagine if LGs and state government, they're doing primary health care, schools are functioning properly, massive infrastructure rollout, electricity. I mean, we won't have these conversations. The focus on FG will be a lot lesser. But you know, the federal government hands are tied to a certain extent politically. They won't want to call out state governors because they need them for a re-election.
Honestly, I agree with you that, you know, the local, not just states, the local governments, the state need to be called out more and frequently. I agree with you on that point. Because that's how it's supposed to be, right? In the federation, right? The only problem, and I don't want to make my two comments sort of like, I don't want to do a but comment. I don't want to say I agree with you, but the problem is that look at the headlines in Nigeria today. We've seen the report of how many trillion going to a state. You see where I'm coming from? Who in Nigeria, all the taxes are collected by the federal government. If those goes to the states, like VAT is collected by the federal government. It's a state tax collected by the federal government of Nigeria. Corporate income tax are not collected by any state government. None. States only collect payee. So we say we're a federation, but in effect we are really operating as a unitary state and all that. Fiscal, we talk about power sector, states can do power sector and all that. Okay, that's fine. States can do railway, roads, airports. Can they do that as well? So I agree with you. Yeah, we should call the states out, but we should give the states power. Give the states fiscal federalism powers. Let the states collect their own taxes. Let the states do everything themselves. Then we can call them out. And I want it to be together. I want to agree with you. I'm also asking for more. I think the states and local governments are hiding under the federal government not to do work. Many states have removed subsidy reform, which means that no states got double the FAC. Have they increased salaries? Have they done roads? I agree with you on that part. And I want two of them to happen. Call the state governors out, hold them to task, especially the local governments. Not even the state, the local governments. No local government in Nigeria earns less than 250 million naira a month. None. Can you point to a local government that has clean, potable drinking water in the whole of Nigeria? None. So it's a tough call. Yeah, but I think you're on the right spot. Yeah, Spartan. I agree completely. Let me get my friend Oluwa Sheon Ajide. Go ahead. Do you have anything else to add?
The local government.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Palu.
How you doing? I'm not sure if he was speaking. His partner was speaking.
Yeah, I'm speaking now, Oluwaseun.
Okay, fantastic. Go for it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Kalu. Thank you, everyone. So, just a very quick one. So, for me, I think there has been. I think the government is actually heavily invested in insincerity and misinformation on the part of the government. And I will give my example using the cocoa. Using the from the non-oil exports report. We actually that was actually out recently. So cocoa last year alone, cocoa surged about 200%. And also, this was also at a time where Naira was actually devalued by almost 100%. So we have 200% cocoa surge, then also with about 100% Naira devaluation, meaning more Naira values in cocoa sales without improving, without increasing any production. Yeah. So now the propaganda out there is that Tinubu's reform actually encouraged cocoa farmers. However, there are circulating videos on YouTube where cocoa farmers in Odo were actually paying kidnappers in dollars to gain their freedom. I would actually attach the video after dropping off. So now, what we have on the internet from the government propaganda PR guys is that the reforms are actually working for the cocoa farmers, which is actually not true. We have cocoa farmers in Ondo crying for government support and also crying about insecurity. They are paying dollars. I'll share the video. Then, secondly, we also have the report that the non-oil is actually very closer to the oil export, which is also not true, like you mentioned earlier. Cocoa alone actually added 41% of the non-oil exports. So now, where are the exports from manufacturing? Where are the exports from, let's say, from tech? Where are the exports? What are the export values from other sectors? Minding that cocoa alone added 41%. And when you question all these things on the internet, the PR boys will start to cost you. They'll start to bring out graphic design, and they will also start to bring out headline screenshots of how Beta Glass surged by 162%, and they'll just continue cursing. But just to end, I think nobody's actually ready to learn, which is actually not good for the progress of the country. Thank you.
So in essence, you're just to make sure people understand what you're saying, that cocoa itself, like I said before, cocoa was actually tracking Bitcoin. In the last 2 years, cocoa price has gone up a lot. So if you take the devaluation of the Naira has gone from $500 to $1,500, right? 1,500 Naira to $1,500. And then you take the rise in the price of cocoa. That meant that if I was exporting 1 ton of cocoa and I was earning $1,000, for instance, now with the Naira devaluation, without even increasing my output, my Naira earnings would have tripled or quadrupled.
Exactly.
And if that happens, and you then go and do a statistics, you will be correct to say that the non-oil sector in Nigeria is going up, when in effect the actual volumes have not gone up. So
that's what is happening.
So we should be tracking the actual volumes, so that we'll say that the non-oil sector has seen an increase, because like the lady has spoken from Financial Times, agriculture was at 0% GDP growth, then 1% GDP growth. Very, very anemic. And the problem with Nigeria's economy is that if you pick the 3 largest sectors of Nigerian economy that contribute to GDP, you're going to have agriculture, trade, and IT. These are the 3 big ones before we did the rebase. Of those 3, agriculture and trade were negative or anemic. Only ICT was rising. So you see that's why you see the GDP was going up and there was economic output or productivity and wealth going down, because the bulk of the folks that are doing those jobs are not making a lot of money. But if you are in, say, banking is having very, very high growth, but very, very little contribution to Nigerian GDP. That's what's going on. The sectors that are growing have very little contribution. Now, real estate is number one sector in Nigeria. That's what we are told. The real estate sector and agriculture are the two contributors. But a nation that has cocoa, that has cashew, that are now doing very, very well in the international community, we should be doing much more than what we're doing today. You know, I mentioned the largest non-oil exporters in Nigeria. So just those 5 exporters in Nigeria control 80%. Those 5 of them control 80%. So again, I want to be very careful. So people don't think I'm talking bad about that export guy. But if in an economy where the GDP of this country was once at 600 billion, about 600 billion, if our number one non-oil exporter is a local guy doing cocoa, we have a lot to go. And I'm not attacking the guy. I'm saying, just look at the picture. That this is the number one non-oil exporter, and he hasn't done more than 500 million in this economy. $500 million. He hasn't done that. Go to a small oil refinery or small oil well in Ondo. Calculate how much that well has done. So we have to be realistic. Why? Not to critique the government, but so that the picture is clear to people to say, listen, we have to do more. The objective of the Nigerian government is to take Nigeria from oil to non-oil. That's my own view. We have to go from an oil economy to a non-oil economy, because oil is... Go ahead.
This cannot happen. This cannot happen in 20 years.
Why can't it happen in 20 years? I can give you examples of Olumide.
I want to give you an example. Let me break it down with you for data for you, for example.
Okay.
We have 124 companies listed on Nigeria major stock markets. We have 24 of these companies with a valuation of $1 billion plus.
Okay.
We have about a dozen, or let's put to be safe, a gross that generates revenue of higher than $1 billion plus. Now, when you look at margins, in terms of margins, the banking industry and the richest men like Dangote, Rabiu, they have the best margins in our industry. Now, when you look at look at the share to the economy, you see that it's still very low. You look at our capital market, for example. Our capital market has a valuation of $59.3 million. Elon Musk has a valuation of $419 billion. America has a valuation of the economy, $23 trillion. Now, Nigeria has a valuation of just about 200. Now, if you look at Rabiu and Dangote, they share about a tenth of Nigeria GDP. Now, Kalu, what am I doing? Now, you need to understand that for you to build capital, for you to build wealth at scale, you need a minimum requirement. Using a Chinese model, you need a minimum requirement of at least a decade. Now, it means that the companies that will be the frontiers of Nigerian economy must already be showing food. So definitely, you are talking about Dangote refinery, you are talking about fertilizer plants, you are talking about Boa refinery, you are talking about Boa Foods. These are companies that are in the front now. Nigeria is not an intellectual economy where you can say, okay, they are building open air where valuations can swim all of a sudden. So we need to be honest with ourselves. Now, look at the Nigerian state, for example. Only 2 states in Nigeria have companies headquartered with a valuation of $1 billion plus. Only 2 states in Nigeria have valuations of companies higher than $500 million. Now, if you now look at the other company, other Edo, for example, where you have Presto and Kumo, that's because of how the business has positioned. You now look at it as, okay, it means that when you take Lagos and Edo out, you can naturally understand why many of these states don't generate FDIs. Now, Nigeria Delta is a good example. Despite the fact that they are the food wealth basket of the country, despite the fact that a state like Delta gets the highest federal government allocation, these things are redundant in terms of FX. These things are redundant in terms of... So these things, when you look at it from a market perspective, when people say these things will happen overnight, I just look at it. These things are not movies. These things take precedence.
Okay, let me also give you numbers. I was a kid when Obasanjo was doing Operation Feed Nigeria, Feed the Nation. That was 1979 or things like that, right? When was Dangote Cement founded? 1992. So from 1992, Dangote Cement built something that he then became the largest capitalized company in Nigeria before we had all this MTN. From 1992, but he became from 1992, he grew to what he became today. So for agriculture, before Obasanjo even did this Operation Nation, we have done agriculture. The point I'm making, Olumide, we have been talking diversify the economy from 1960. Indonesia came here before 1960 though. Indonesia also has crude oil. Indonesia has palm oil. The name of the Niger Delta was the Oil Delta, not because of oil, crude, but because of palm oil. So we had agriculture, then we found crude oil, and we dropped off crude oil and palm oil and chased crude oil. Indonesia did not. Indonesia today exports more palm oil in dollar terms than Nigeria exports crude oil. So it's not a question of it can if we wake up and Dangote went from 1992 to the richest man in Africa with Dangote Cement. So why can't the Nigerian Federation go from using cocoa, cashew, palm oil? Why can't we do it?
I'm not saying. I think you're missing my point here. I'm saying the years you want it to happen.
20 years is not enough. 20 years. 20 years.
Sorry, Median.
20 years is just because the government, 20 years, it could be a possibility. Look at this $1 trillion economy you're talking about. They said by the end of this decade, me and you know that cannot happen. At 190, and you know the Naira.
All I'm saying is that it's not impossible to change the trajectory of an economy in 25 years. We had Vision 2020. When we have Obasanjo in the 2000 said there's Vision 2020. Now we're at 2025. Now we're talking of 2050 vision. I can assure you, if we continue the way we are going, by 2062, we'll say, let's diversify the economy. What Indonesia has done is they diversified their economy. The same, South Korea has diversified their economy. Thailand, China. Nigerians were richer than the Chinese as at 1979. 1980, Nigerians were richer than the Chinese. 1979, 1980. Where are we today? Without Chinese money, we can't build a bridge or build a power plant. So it's not impossible. It's just the will to do it. When was Nollywood created? How big has Nollywood grown? It grew without government support. None. Nollywood from nowhere. Fintech. When did fintech start? When did fintech start? Did the government support it? How big is it today?
What conversation, please? Can I ask this conversation, please?
So I mean, you can hop in. Let me see.
What I don't agree with Olumide is basing the growth of Nigeria around the private individuals. If the government is not self-sufficient in building the economy would not go anywhere.
What did you say that again?
Because the private, are you understand what are you hearing me?
No, say it again. I want to make sure I heard it.
What I'm saying is I don't agree with what Olumide is saying by basing the growth of Nigeria around private individuals who have set up assets that are mainly owned by them. Because that is not contributing to the growth of the economy. If the governments are not working, if the economy are not working assiduously to build infrastructures that would grow the economy on its own. For instance, if Dangote and the Rabi takes all their assets out of Nigeria, does that mean that Nigeria, would not still exist?
But how would they take it out? I mean, how?
No, but I'm just saying we have to stop having the mentality that that Nigeria's growth is dependent on individuals. It's supposed to be government-led.
It is. Government can't. The government doesn't grow any economy. Name an economy government has grown. Name one.
The UK is grown.
Who grew the UK? No, when was UK created?
No, let's stop saying when.
Okay, name the government that built the UK.
Can I just land, please? Let's stop saying when, and say the things that are working. Let's take, for instance, now this tax
that we're talking about that Nigeria is about to implement. If every tax that Nigerians are paying,
I don't want you to jump.
Hold on, please. Are going into the different budget allocations.
The governments do not grow any. No, you can't. We're not going to start that. No. Make your point. Governments does not grow any economy from the beginning of time. From the beginning of time, name a country that the government grew that economy. I want to know.
No, can you know what I'm saying?
Can I just explain?
What is the meaning of GDP? What is the meaning of GDP? Black life. What is the meaning of GDP? That's the simple question. What's the meaning of GDP?
Gross domestic product.
Now, what is the basic? What is the meaning of GDP? Because
output.
How is the economy built? GDP is economic activity.
It doesn't government.
If you ask, hold on, because you are saying a private sector is going to be the economy. So, for example, when we say Nigeria GDP is $190 billion,
I said we should stop relying on private individuals to grow in Nigeria.
Who should we rely on them? Who should we rely on? Who should we rely on? Who should we rely on? There is South Korea. There is South Korea and North Korea. That's a clear example for you. North Korea, South Korea. North Korea. Hold on. North Korea. North Korea is run by the government. South Korea is run by the private sector. Go up to space and look at both nations. Which one is dark? Which one has light? Simple. Same country. Go to Haiti. Go to Dominican Republic. Do the same. Go to Soviet Union. Go to Poland before and after communism. One was run by the government, one is now run by the private sector. Look at Venezuela. Before it was run by the communists and now run by the look at Ethiopia, run by Mengistu, a communist, and not run by the private sector. Look at Ghana, run by Kwame, and look at it today. There is no nation that run by a socialist government that has a middle class. Name one nation run by a socialist government that has a middle class. Name one. China is a capitalist society run by a socialist government. Not the same thing. China has a capitalist government. They have a BMW dealership owned by Chinese. Socialists don't have BMW dealerships owned by individuals. So name one from the beginning of time. Name one. Babylon. Name any society that has been socialist that has a middle class. You can't.
I think if you don't mind, I would like. Sorry for interjecting. This example, if I may, please, I would like to differ with you on that. Right? Yes, we know that governments on their own cannot, build an economy. But the most important thing is, the policies of that government. You are right when you say, yes, China, if you take China as an example, government makes the policy and it's the politics that runs the capital.
I agree.
Not the other way around. If you go to America, it's the capital. Even the capital is controlling the government. Mm-hmm. But in China, it's the government that is controlling the capital.
But in a capitalist, they are capitalists. They tried socialism in 1979. They died with famine.
But they determine how the capital
in a capitalist. Alibaba cannot exist in a socialist economy. It's impossible. So they give me labels, want to give it. But in the reality is that you cannot have a BMW dealership in China if they were socialist or communist. No matter what label we give it.
What makes China peculiar is, and that is why I have so much respect for them. They sat down and they brought out their own type of political economy, right? We can give them that. We can all agree on that. It's a system whereby the what do they call it? The party runs the economy. Yes, you are capitalistic.
No. Don't jump. I have allowed you to don't jump. The party, like you said, the Politburo gives the broad guidelines, right? But they don't tell Alibaba what to sell. In a communist society, Alibaba will be told what to buy, what to sell, what quantity. But in China, they will say we want to have an IT economy. Then Alibaba would go and say, I want to sell condoms or not to sell condoms. We can't choose what we want from China and this. They run a capitalist. They learn from the white, build coastal cities, learn from them, then apply the Chinese work ethic on the same thing. They're building their own planes today. What kills Russia?
I think basically, I think we're saying the same thing.
No, we're not.
This is where we differ, right? Where we differ is trying to understand where the power comes from, right?
No, I don't. I'm agreeing with you. I don't really care where the power comes from. Economics says that if I'm a factory guy and I can decide my units of production, my output, my input, if I can do that on my own without the government, then it's not a socialist society.
Okay, I think, Kalu, you know what happened in Alibaba and the communist.
Yes,
and the,
but is Alibaba it's not standing today?
Sorry?
Is it not standing today? Is still standing today now?
No, yes, we know he is standing. But the party told Alibaba there are some businesses that he cannot do.
Good.
When you look at
same in Nigeria, same in America,
Let me land.
Microsoft was broken up. Was Microsoft not broken up in still America?
We know that. But what What I'm trying to say is this.
I'm a staunch anti-socialist, so if you don't know. Staunch.
Yes, when you look at China, right? The difference between the capitalistic system of China and the West is that the Politburo controls the capital. When you go to the West, when you go to Europe and you go to America, it's the capital that is controlling the politics. Right? This is where they differ. Essentially, all of them are capitalistic. But why I respect them so much is the Chinese sat down and said, okay, look, this Western thing is not going to work for us. This is what is going to work for us, and it's working for them. And I don't have any problem with that, right? And I believe Nigeria and every other African country, right? This is what they are supposed to do. Because it's a spin-off of what Singapore did, it's a spin-off of what Malaysia did. They sat down, they understood their peculiarities, and, they refined what would work for them, and they implemented it.
You're right. I agree with on this part, I agree with you. So let's be very clear, right? There is no pure capitalist or pure socialist economy. There is none. US as capitalist has got Section 8 housing, they've got subsidies. We get that. Where we're going to was the gentleman was saying that the government can grow the economy. No, even if you look at the budget of Nigeria and the private investment is always more than the budget of Nigeria. The government sets the tone, the direction, the laws, it sets the rules. But Nollywood was not grown by the government. FinTech was not grown by the government. The sectors that the music that these boys play wasn't grown by the government. Burna Boy did not become big because there was a law passed called Burna Boy Act to allow people to do music videos. Look at this stuff right now on YouTube. Nigeria's going to own YouTube in the next 5 years. Government didn't have a hand there. So when we have the sector have grown organically in Nigeria, have grown from small sectors, private sector guys that have just gone scale and blown it up. Then the government comes and starts to tax them. What the government has done, they haven't done anything. What have they done with agriculture? What have they done with trade? They haven't done anything. But the what the people have done. So that's why I'm not against you. I'm saying I agree with you. I'm just saying the gentleman that was saying that the government is one. No. The government can say, well, let's go and invest in IT. They want to pass a law called the Nigerian IT Telecom Act. That would guide capital into that sector. Completely agree.
Exactly.
But it's not the government that will come and say it doesn't work that way. Nigeria is very so on that part we agree. Okay. So just check it. I'm not. Did you have? I know you came in public.
That you are totally correct.
Okay.
You are 100% correct.
Okay, did you come in for something? Because I didn't want you just to come in because you wanted to. Did you come in to speak on anything?
Yes, I did. Actually, I did because first I want to talk about the overlapping budgets, right? This is I don't know. for so many years, I've been following Nigerian budgets for one reason or the other, right? But I have never seen a confused one like the one of this present administration. Are we running 2024 budget? Are we running 2025 budget? Because I had that, because from what I learned, they started implementing it September, the one for 2025. Yes. The one for 2024 has been allowed to run till December 2025.
Yeah.
You know, so there is a lot of confusion. And you know, the most annoying thing is nobody is even explaining anything to you. Why are things like this, right? Did you not get the money to run? Where are you getting the money now to implement the one of 2024? What is happening to the one of 2025? Are you also going to extend it till the end of 2026 and then start implementing? You know, there is a lot of confusion. And one thing, like you rightly said, government only sets the tone, right? Now it's left for business people to try and key in depending on the policies of the government. But there is a lot of confusion. And I'll give you a typical example. Just last week or last 2 weeks, contractors were demonstrating in Ministry of Finance because they have not been paid. Right? Now, contracts for 2025 might not even be taken serious because you have not paid me the ones for 2024. So why should I go and do another one for you?
Ahmed, were they doing for 2025?
Like it or not?
Ahmed, quick one. Were they asking for 2025 or 2024 contract? Who were they demonstrating for?
2024. They have not been paid.
Wow.
They have not been paid, right? And this is the first time that I've seen this thing in Nigeria. Contractors going to Ministry of Finance to demonstrate for their to hold a protest.
But we have the revenues now. We have the revenues. The president said we have met the revenue target.
That is the problem. It's so confusing. You don't even know what is happening. You understand what I'm saying? You don't know what is happening. Why have they not been paid? Why? You know, at least give us an explanation. Okay, the money is this or the money is that. Nothing like that. So there is a lot of confusion, and businesses generally try to forecast what is going to happen, and whether we like it or not. Up to now, as I'm talking to you, government is one of the highest spenders. So if the government doesn't spend, everything slows down, and we are already seeing the effect. I don't know, maybe they want to control inflation or what, they don't want to release the money. We don't know, but there is a lot of confusion in the system. And I believe this is the first time that really, we know that we have had late budgets, in poor implementation, things like that. But it's not as bad as it is this time around.
Do you think it's on purpose?
I don't know. Sincerely speaking, I don't. I think it's just ineptitude. One way or the other is ineptitude.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's what I would say. And then, you know what? Yeah. About the state of the economy.
Yep.
I think right now it's pretty bad. It's not pretty. It's very, very bad.
Naira has gained value.
Well, yes, Naira by how many percent? It's still 1,500.
Inflation,
look,
inflation is down.
I keep telling people this, right? A strong currency doesn't necessarily mean strong economy.
Bam.
We all know that. Your currency can be weak. For example, Vietnam, and still you have a very good economy. In fact, if you produce a lot, it's a plus for you. We know the differences that has been going on between America and China. It's because Americans have been accusing the Chinese government of currency manipulation to have an edge in exports. So a devalued Naira doesn't mean
say it louder. Say it louder.
You understand?
Say it louder.
What will make that economy to be good is the macroeconomic policies. that will make that economy to be good.
Okay.
And right now, government has told us that, okay, we have to take some very, very painful decisions so that we'll get there. Fine and good. We'll float the naira, we'll remove subsidies, we'll increase these tariffs on this and this and this. Fine and good. But there must be a support system for the middle class and small and micro businesses, which we all know is not going on. Nothing is happening right now. I'm a small business owner. I'm into manufacturing and I'm into real estate. And I can tell you this, that it's very, very rough out there. Interest rates are almost 34-35%. My profits are not even maximum if what I get is 25% for what I produce. So how can I go and get money and then be charged interest by? Then that means I'm just, preparing myself for failure. That is the truth. And then to couple to, and what is exacerbating the situation is, as I was on another space yesterday, and I said this, look, Nigerians, we have always had this resilience with us. One way or the other, we have always survived. But what made us survive was things were relatively cheap. They were not too cheap, but they were relatively cheap. And what kept them the way they were those subsidies that we were enjoying in foreign currency, the central bank, managing the exchange rates and the fuel subsidies. That was what kept prices low. Now, they are no longer there. But every other thing, as a Nigerian, most of us, unless you belong to the, abysmally poor, you do it out of pocket. Your school fee, the school fees of your children, your rent, your everything, you don't get anything. But one way or the other, you get, you innovate in such a way that
well said, Ahmed. I just want to
now all these things have been removed, and that is why there is palpable anger in the land. You have removed the subsidies and then my basic things. Then I have been doing them out of pocket, and now the cost of doing that has multiplied or quadrupled in some instances.
Gotcha.
We were buying, yes.
Ahmed, I get the
Yeah.
point. I want to get us to speak. I get your point completely. I think we all do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to come back to Spartan. I don't think he finished his chain of thought. I think we sort of. Spartan, I don't think you finished your actual contribution.
Yes.
We moved on, so you've got the floor. Go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, what do you want to say that in the midst of all this, what the government could do is, I think the Tinubu government. If I know the election cycle, if they are done with the election cycle and all that, and it comes out successful, the next phase will be might likely be massive rollout of economic welfare programs to cushion the effect. But this time around, if it is done via the means of fellow politicians and it doesn't get to the people, there would be nothing. It won't be impactful. So in this case, because just like the last speaker, what the last speaker spoke, so during Nigeria I've never grown up to see like a good Nigeria. I keep saying that I was born in the late 80s, and I've never seen a good Nigeria. I have never seen a good Nigeria. The only semblance of good Nigeria was the Yar'Adua to Jonathan's period that hopes were a little bit high, but then everything again went down the hill. So what we used to benefit then was just this little fuel subsidy and the naira and the naira subsidy too. But then all these things are gone. And when all these things are gone, we are feeling the effect. I've talked to some of my colleagues that are businessmen today, and no one can take loans because the percentage, the interest rate is so high. I mean, what kind of business do you do for a new incoming business that you're guaranteed a 60% profit on a monthly basis? Let's be realistic. Let's be realistic in Nigeria. What business will you endeavor, will you go into, and you will get a 60% profit on a monthly basis? It's little to none. It's little to none. So if we actually have guys, we actually have guys in government. See, Carlo, we can't fix anything. We can't get anything done. Just like what the Lumide was saying, we can't get anything done if we don't fix the foundation, which is politics. Mike Zokeme said something, the very popular son. He said something. He said that what we do in Nigeria is every year we just try to brush the fence, amend things a little bit, but it's inevitable that the structure is going to fall someday. That structure will fall because what we are practicing in Nigeria is not democracy. It's not federal.
All right.
It's not federal democracy. All right. It is unitary. So for us to really go ahead, we need to practice the real thing, the real federal system of government.
Gotcha.
Which will mean a total overhaul of this constitution, a brand new constitution,
all right,
and that's will make headway. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thanks for coming back. I appreciate you hanging out, sir. Afolabi Adio. How you doing, Afolabi? Afolabi Adio.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can, sir.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I've been listening and trying to think if I can even remember what I wanted to contribute.
Sorry for
but the first thing I want to talk about is the data. Obviously, I don't think there's any excuse for not them giving, up-to-date data that would make people speculate, and, even if they mean good, that there's no excuse to that. But the main thing also I want to talk to is the taxes. My own idea of taxes is for income redistribution. And the main income of government should be taxes. Ideally, in an ideal world, the country should not even be selling oil. They should have no business in that. All they need to focus on is just collecting taxes, distributing income, and taking those money to the real sector that will now stimulate production, which you alluded to, Carl. That what the government should do, when people talk production, that's talking rubbish. The real thing is you take money and you put it into roads and other infrastructure that would actually stimulate people to invest. There was a gentleman that talked about, the tax reform should give the wealthy some tax break. I don't agree with that. The idea of taxes is income distribution. They should pay their fair share and take those monies from the people who made most from the country and help to lift people out of poverty. And I believe that's the direction, hopefully, that this government is going. And there was another thing the gentleman talked about. Well, there's been no increase in production. It's just been the fact that the naira was devalued. Well, I mean, I work in a sector whereby sometimes we play around. We're not being dodgy. We play around with the figures. We net account some things, and it's just what it is. They take advantage of the situation. There's no crime in that. They haven't committed any crime. The fact that there's been devaluation and that's helped their numbers, so be it. But I strongly have faith that I believe the country is heading in the right direction. That's just my final solution.
Heading in the, I didn't get the last one.
it's heading in the right direction.
Gotcha.
That's my strong belief.
Gotcha. Thanks, Falabi. Appreciate you making those comments with us. Let's get Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Is he still there with us? Let's go Wifo, Mr. Wifo. Wifo?
Yeah, I'm here. Good evening, everyone.
Let's go ahead, sir. How you doing? We've talked a lot today. We've talking about the budget, overlapping records, the economy. I mean, what struck your interest? What do you comment about?
Originally, what struck my interest, you made mention of some off-takers, some manufacturing or big energy consumers are leaving the grids, and you made mention about 30% of them or so. But what that struck my interest, and I needed to just put some ground explanation to that.
Okay.
I'm very big in manufacturing across sectors, but the recent play that I have now is in the solar panel manufacturing, which a lot of manufacturing facilities are actually trying to cut away from gas and also cut away from grid to solar panel and renewable energy. But if you then look at it, we have a pioneer manufacturing of solar panel in Nigeria, but not necessarily the wafer sheet, which is the cell, but the assembly line. The cell is coming from China. But however, the big point I'm trying to make here is that a lot of manufacturing industries like Coca-Cola, Unilever, and some small manufacturing also, they are making inroads into using solar to power their manufacturing, because judging from the fact that the energy bills now is going up, and even currently we have seen Unilever, because Unilever downsized some couple of years ago, and a lot of they cut down in their manufacturing, like Umu plant was shut down. The famous Lifebuoy, locks and all of those plants were shut down. So they were left with just close up and no manufacturing. So their utility already, because of the scale that they have, their utility facility, they have already scaled it up to their original scale before. But in the cutting down, that gives them a lot of bill to pay. So currently, they are also moving into renewable energy. They have some installed capacity already that they have, and also, if you see many of them across. So I just wanted to put a flesh to the percentage that you have rightly, pointed out, and it's going to increase in next couple of years to come. Coca-Cola is already doing that across the manufacturing assets in Nigeria. Mixing renewable energy into their energy consumption. So I just wanted to flesh that out.
Is it because it's cheaper, or it's just that the power is unreliable? Why are they doing this? Why are they investing so much millions in power? Is it because they want to get power, or because the one that they get from the public side is expensive? What's the real driver?
Yeah, so they are the driver on two points. The first one is that they need what you need in manufacturing, you need constant energy. You don't want to have an interrupted power supply. You don't even want to have 18 hours in a day. You want to have it 24/7, because there are some of your processes that you have that you don't want to cut down power in any case. For instance, I want to use the glass manufacturing. You don't want your furnace to go down. If your furnace go down, it takes you can lose the furnace. Also, there are some smaller manufacturing that you have, like candy manufacturing. You also don't want your plant to go down. The milk manufacturing, like the dairy. Also, you don't want anything to happen to your process. So renewable energy, especially the solar panel, gives you that leverage for you to have constant electricity of some sort. Then number two again is that the cost. If you look at the cost of energy has gone up very high. I used to work with I don't want to mention now, but I used to work. But I discovered that in recent time, before I left there, the energy that we're using was going up too fast. And in fact, we needed to add. We actually reported that case to to the Consumer Protection, and then when we even got there, the guys, they were saying that why are we shifting from using their energy, we are shifting into renewable energy. So for me, it's those 2 points, the 2 points that I mentioned earlier, cost and then stability.
Yeah, but the real thing why I'm bringing up is that if this continues, then the entire business case for the Nigerian power sector is going to sort of like be in deep crisis, because if you don't have paying customers, then you can't have a grid that can deliver power at affordable prices. The more the private sector guys leave, the more the cost to the retailers go up. So that's something to watch really for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Also look at REA. Look at their budget for 2026. They had already budgeted to do some installation of renewable energies, especially using solar panels in most of the rural area. So you can check that out. You see what I'm saying.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. Let's get Deji.
Carlo, that's where Dangote comes in. Watch out for that electricity, Dangote.
But he said he has his own. Are you saying he's going to go into power supply, or is going to deliver diesel? What's he going to do in power supply?
He's going to take over the whole value chain.
What value chain is this? Is it in electricity at all?
From generation to transmission and distribution.
How? I mean, he doesn't have a power sector license. So how will he do this?
He's going to get that, Carlo.
Yeah, but how will he do it? Lagos is sold already. Is he going to buy over Eco Distribution?
He's going to buy over the major power holding companies.
Okay.
Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja.
Okay. Let's see. I mean, let's see what happens. No problem. Deji, you got the floor.
Let's watch out for that.
All right. Perfect. Deji, go ahead.
Another information I just want to give is that we also see that Wando is also trying to go into solar panel manufacturing. I think currently they are building the plants up to about 900 megawatt solar panel manufacturing. So I think they also want to go into mini grid using solar to tie to the transmission.
Okay. All right. Well said. Deji.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, guys. So I only came up to ask questions. I'm not really that good with all of this. So my first question is on the trade report that was released. So I was one of the first few people that downloaded it before something went wrong with their website. So in that report, I wanted to ask about the exports, right? Is there any sort of positives from that export number? And the reason I ask is because obviously it's been, propelled as, we got, net trade, whatever it's called, right? Trade balance is surplus. So in the export, when I did some calculation, I found that the oil and some other oil-related products take like over 60% of what we exported.
Yeah.
Can we really look at these numbers and say, or is it a good measure to say, okay, the government has sufficiently diversified the economy or not, or should we be looking at something else?
There is no diversification going on, not just at this report. I think I've spoken about this in the past, even a year ago. If you look at the trade report that has come out, the latest one, total crude oil export is 11 trillion. Total non-oil export is 3 trillion. Remember, in this non-oil, we're counting fertilizer and LME petrochemical. So if you remove LME petrochemical, you remove Dangote fertilizer from this 3 trillion, what is left? You already have 11 trillion crude oil. Then you have 3 trillion that is counting LME and all that. So Nigeria has not diversified anything. They are just saying it. I've quoted you the largest exporter in Nigeria, non-oil exporter in Nigeria, is a company exporting cocoa. From inception to date, they haven't done $500 million. From inception to date. And cocoa is at record prices. So, additionally, the former AFDB president said to export goods out of Nigeria is it double or triple what Ghana is charging? So you can't have high exports if the cost of exporting is high. It's not going to be possible. So we're quoting, should we say, devalued Naira figures and saying that we have increased export. It's not true. We haven't increased the volume of cocoa that is leaving Nigeria. What has increased that the same volume is attracting higher prices and with a lower value of Naira. So it has gone up in nominal values, but the actual tonnage leaving Nigeria, nothing really has changed there. The summary is still showing that. So there's nothing to celebrate per se. Should we celebrate that we are staying at even keel? Not really, because even the crude oil report has even gone down. This report is showing that the crude oil exports have even gone down. So the idea is not to be gloomy. The idea is to say we're not there yet. Instead of praising the government, put pressure and say, why are we not exporting more cocoa? Why are we not exporting more crude oil? Oh, let me give you numbers. OPEC's target to Nigeria is 1.5. We have struggled to hit that OPEC. Not this OPEC, not our own targets. OPEC, 1.5. We struggled and we were now at about 1.6, 1.7. The budget is 2.1. So our own budget is better than OPEC. We haven't reached our budget. We just passed OPEC. And it is based on that 2.1 that we're going to borrow money to spend. So you see, we're setting the budget, we're going to borrow money at 2.1 at $75 a barrel and spend. But we're not even selling at 2.1 and oil has gone to 65 from 75. So you see that huge gap opening. That huge gap is going to be covered by borrowing. And that borrowing takes away the revenues that we're getting. When the president says we're making revenues, I really don't know where it's coming from. Deji, back to you.
That's actually where my next question was going, because, you know, in that particular video, he even said, he used the word brag, right? It was literally bragging that we had met our revenue. And we had a space, we went back and forth on what that target meant. And like you said, you're right, you know, some people said it was, the non-oil revenue it meant. Some people said it's the actual,
he said he was very clear, non-oil revenues. So he's quoting VAT and corporate income tax, non-oil. The point I am making, what he was saying, the context he was saying was that he was saying, irrespective of what America does with tariffs and the rest, he has made his target with non-oil. So he will not bother with what America is doing. That's the context. So if you come back from that context and say, okay, what is in VAT that he's boasting about? It's petrochemicals, Dangote. It's Element Petrochemicals, Dangote. So in that non-oil, they put oil there. That's why it's skewed. It's not being skewed because of cocoa. It's being skewed because of fertilizers from urea and petrochemicals from Element. That's what is skewing the non-oil. We're not exporting more cocoa. We are adding Dangote fertilizer in non-oil. We're calling it non-oil export. How can urea fertilizer be non-oil? If you turn off the gas pipes, he can't make fertilizer anymore now. And Indorama is actually called Indorama Petrochemical. How can you call something petrochemical and say it's not oil? We are fooling ourselves here, guys. It's not my terms. So this is the name of the company. Google it, Indorama Petrochemical, and we're calling it non-oil. Makes no sense.
So, just a few more questions, if you don't mind. So this is where I was actually trying to, if you can comment on that. Are we really, or should we really not be concerned about the tariffs from the US when it comes to oil and other related products? Because if oil still takes a large chunk of the exports, what actually gives us foreign exchange, shouldn't that be a major concern that we have to look out for?
Yes and no. We should be concerned because it's a mono product. But the US has exempted oil and gas from tariffs. So Mr. Tinubu should have simply said, we're exempted, so we don't have to worry about paying higher taxes. Dangote is not going to pay taxes because the US has exempted oil and gas. It had nothing to do with non-oil. It had nothing to do with Nigeria. US is exempted non-oil. As a matter of fact, because they are attacking Venezuela, Nigerian oil and gas exports are going to be very, very important for them to replace what's coming from Russia, from Venezuela, from Iran. So we're in a good place. But that makes us more dependent on oil and gas. So it's the other way around. Yeah, if that helps.
Okay, fair enough. Lastly,
Lastly,
there was a public, or should I call it like a tweet that was released by the special advisor to the president on economy, whatever, right? And in what he titled it 12 ways the economy has changed structurally by Tinubu. And one of the points in that particular he listed a few, but one of the points he said was that there's been higher volumes of local manufacturing due to the weaker naira and reduced imports, right? So now, I then go to check the manufacturing sector contribution to our GDP so far, and I can see like a downward trend. So I'm wondering, is this where I should be looking at if I want to know, if truly there's been increased or higher volumes in local manufacturing due to weaker naira? Thank you.
I think the data point you're going to get is going to be the share of manufacturing GDP to GDP. You get that from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Every quarter, they release that to you. You also see that in the CBN report. If you look for their where income is coming from, if it's coming from VAT and from company income tax, you can look at what are the components that make up that VAT and all that. Overall, you cannot hear that power companies are moving from public power to private power and still say manufacturing share is going up. It doesn't tally. These things have to tally. Drive around Lagos, drive around Port Harcourt, Transamadi, drive around Kaduna, Bombay, and the rest. Do you see manufacturing going up? It really cannot go up because there's no consumption. It's not that the companies cannot produce. If they produce, who will buy? Nigerians are not consuming. If you pull up the consumption report published in the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, I think I shared it again on Twitter, we are negative. I don't know how you can have negative consumption. That's why you see sachets all over the place. Nigerians are not consuming, and that's why the economy is not growing. Nobody can afford to buy a bag of rice, can afford to buy a new car, new air conditioner, new carpets, new shoes, new clothes. No one can afford it. If you don't consume, the economy will grind to a halt. After 9/11, George Bush told them, what did George Bush tell Americans? He didn't say, go and buy a gun. He said, go and shop. Why? Because if Americans stop shopping, the economy will collapse. Same thing. Nigerian consumption is a big part of our GDP. If we stop buying, the economy will collapse. This is what has happened. Nigerians have stopped buying, then the economy has stopped. That's why you see the economy where it is today. If you are not buying goods, how do SMEs get salary to employ people to spend? Because your spending is my income. My income is what I spend on you. We are a circular economy. So when one guy no longer spends, then the economy sort of shrinks. And that's what you see happening in Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Can I add to that? This point that you made. Thank you very much. Now, another thing is, why do we have this consumption? Lack of consumption, sorry. It's because, as we said, government is still the highest spender, right? But if you look at it, and how does the government spend? It's usually through, two ways: capital projects and recurrent expenditure. When you take the capital project side, the budget, it comes through that budget implementation. And I just mentioned that, in fact, contractors were demonstrating because they have not been paid. So money is not circulating. People cannot consume. That is number one. Then number two, people have now gone back to the basic necessities, right? Almost everything now is a luxury. People are more, they care more about their children's school fees, what they eat. Just watch and get them by, just for them to survive. And the moment you are in that kind of situation, you will find out that it's almost a luxury. It becomes a luxury. Even the most basic necessities become a luxury spending for you because you have to budget and rebudget. And so that is why we're having this very, very low consumptions. Unless it's a necessity, people don't want to spend. And if we don't reverse these things very soon, and I mean very, very soon, then I'm telling you, we are going into a lot of trouble. That was just what I wanted to add. Thank you very much.
All right, perfect. Guys, for running that, about I'll say 15 minutes more to go. So let us. I've got regenerative entrepreneur.
We can go on. Thank you. That was just what I wanted to add.
Perfect, guys. We've got about 5 minutes more to go. For about 10 minutes more. Let's get regenerated, and we've got Ichie. Regenerated entrepreneur. You've got the floor, sir. Start taking us home. What's on your mind?
Thanks so much, Kalu. Yeah, nice one, everybody. Good conversation. I think I want to provide a solution, and I don't know, maybe we have it working already, or if you don't have it, that should be. Kalu, am I audible, please?
Yes, you are.
Thanks so much. So basically, I don't know, maybe we have a platform in Nigeria. When I mean a platform, could be digital platform, could be any kind of value chain platforms. So I look at when you talk about cocoa, I work closely with a lot of nations, and I work closely with a lot of people from Brazil. And when you look at the population of Indonesia, 280 million, 1.5 trillion US dollar economy. So for us in Nigeria, I don't know. I'm not putting the blame on us, but I don't know, is it agreed, right, for us not to be in a collaborative platforms and determine the value chains of everything we export in Nigeria? Puts me at a big thinking when I look at the Brazil that the president is running into as well. They have a platforms, the elites, the way the likes of the Dangote have a lot of micro entrepreneur that they outsource all their products to. So I don't know if we have such in Nigeria, is it that it's not active, or if we don't have, how can we start operating that? When you look at my DP, it's as when you look at the regenerative entrepreneur and you look at what is on my DP, it's mushroom. How can we not realize that mushroom is 55 billion US dollar market, 55 billion
so
mushrooms?
Let me just help you out. Folks that are listening. One of the most underrated Nigerian MDAs or agencies in Nigeria that gives you so much value is Nigerian Enterprises. No, Nigerian Export Promotion Council. Those guys are super. Those guys are very super. If you want to export, you've got to go to that site. They have broken down exports for you in terms of the country, what they're asking for, the country, the product, how you do it. If you also want to, I did a Twitter article a long time ago. Just search for Kalu export. It was a three article post I did on Twitter on how you can export. These guys have done everything for you. Register with them. They would show you where, like for instance, who eats cashews and where you can get them from, what you need to export cashews out from Nigeria to save Vietnam.
I think you don't hear me well when I said platform. I'm not talking about platform to export. I'm talking about value-added platforms. So I can go deeper, but I don't want to go deeper because you have.
Like I said, no, I'm just saying that I'm talking to the folks that are also listening. In case they would like to go into exports and all that, like what about cocoa, there's no one there, they're doing a lot of volume. If you go to NEPC, they are very, 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 very good. They've done a lot of this mapping. I think when Mr. Awolowo used to be there, he did a lot of this mapping of what products to export, and there are lots of opportunities in there. You know, we need to bring exporters here a few times ago doing this space, and they did a lot of work. So if you are interested in exporting, cocoa is already crowded. You know, there's ginger is dying in Kaduna. It was a big thing back then. Now it's having a lot of issues now with the virus I hear. But try to export because that gives you dollars. And if you can earn dollars in Nigeria today, you know where you are. So it's sometimes you want to do your own research. Don't jump into it, but do your own research. And it gives you a very partner. Go learn with someone and see what they're doing. If it's just for you to fund, or you want to actually get into the sourcing, value chain is large. Packaging, distribution, storage. There are lots of places you can place yourselves in that value chain and be an exporter. You don't have to be the one doing the physical exporting. Nigerians have moved to Canada in a large number, and those Nigerians still want to eat stuff. So we've opened up the Canadian market for Nigerian goods. That's the thing with Japan. It opens up where you will not. Nobody in the past have exported their goods into Canada, but now Canada has a market. They're going to be paying Canadian dollars. So you want to take advantage of that and say, okay, how can I do this? Can I just export one bag to Canada and earn Canadian dollars. But sit down with experts and see how you can do it. That's one thing to take away, and then see if you can do as a business this coming quarters. Iche Omenka, how you doing, sir? Iche, can you hear me? Iche? Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, yes, good evening. I'm enjoying the conversation. Yeah, fine. Yes, I'm not an economist, but
I'm not an economist too.
But I just say where I want to actually chip in a little bit is what piqued my interest when you spoke about fertilizer and the relationship with being petrochemical. And it looks like how people, they don't even know the relationship, maybe that even the fertilizer we use, they all come from the petroleum product. So you actually make fertilizer by allowing a gas, that your natural gas or some sort of a petroleum product go into what we call reforming. That reforming, you heat it to a very high temperature, you mix with steam. Then you make what we call carbamate. That carbamate is now what goes into another urea plant. That's how you make your fertilizer. So it's actually a petroleum. You get it from your normal byproduct from petroleum, or you crack a natural gas to make fertilizer. So in that sense, your fertilizer comes from petroleum. Without petroleum, you can make fertilizer. So I just want to get that.
But they know this now. They know this. You and I can't be.
I wonder why they are telling us that fertilizer is not from.
And before people ask me, I'm quoting from the Central Bank of Nigeria's report. If you go to Central Bank of Nigeria's report, you see the top 5 exporters. So it's not I'm not plucking them from the air. It's the same Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. These are companies listed there. But go ahead.
Question I want to ask is there anything wrong? I have a question for Carlo.
Just a quick one before we come on to Ichi.
You know, when they say they accounted for fertilizer as non-oil export, is it against accounting rules? What is actually the accounting rules?
No, it's not the accounting. In Nigeria has oil and non-oil. We break down everything in Nigeria to oil and non-oil. So if you notice, they'll be saying that, listen, that President Tinubu says he has made his target, and he made his target from non-oil. That non-oil is VAT and company income tax. Okay, when you break down that VAT and company income tax, what do you see? You will see that it is from Element Petrochemical and Dangote Urea Fertilizer. So that means it's wrong because he's not making his target from non-oil, but from oil. That's the point we're making.
That's the question I'm asking. As in sense, if it's fertilizers, accounting wise, do you have to account it as oil?
No, accounting has no issues with where you. I don't care where you put it. It's for Nigeria because we want to diversify away. You know, Nigerians want to diversify away from crude oil because we want to show that, listen, we are not a mono economy. So if you look at any government's economic report, you will see non-oil and oil. It's in our budget, it's in our NBS, it's in our central bank. Any economic report is broken down into oil and non-oil because we want to show that we're not doing everything with oil. That's what the president made that. But his statement is wrong. If he's counting these two companies in, it's a double count, more or less.
That's where I think we need some rules around. I wouldn't think. I wouldn't use
who classified it like that. I mean, Share has given you.
We need to understand what is actually the classification. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I just told you what it is. Before it helped my space, did you know this? Before you head on this space, did you know this?
No, I did not.
Yeah, and then the president said something. If you pull up the report, what report was that? If you pull up that trade report, the oil and non-oil are almost the same. They are almost the same. That's what the president is quoting. So, but he's quoting it wrongly because they are telling him that Dangote Urea is non-oil. How can a company called Indorama Petrochemical be non-oil? Doesn't make any sense.
So basically, I guess what you're saying is that any byproduct that is made from oil is also it should be accounted for as a oil.
I wouldn't say byproduct. If you make plastics in a company, you can argue that.
The one how then what stops for
because
fertilizers from being accounted
this is a one step output. One step, like you said, you should talk about how we take gas and add something to make it urea fertilizers. One step on natural gas. If you turn off natural gas, you can't make fertilizers. If you turn off natural gas, can you make there's fertilizers you can make without natural gas? Are we counting that? No, I quoted the company. I didn't say fertilizers. I said Dangote fertilizers. It's made from urea. There are other fertilizer companies that do not use urea. That's non-oil. I have no issues with that. Same with a company. If a company is called petrochemical, is it oil or non-oil? What do you think?
That's the accounting wise. I think
we're not talking about accounting. You keep talking about accounting. The accounting still stays in Nigeria. Pick anything in Nigeria. Pick the budget. Pick NBS. It's broken down. Oil, non-oil. I didn't break it down. Pick anyone. I'm looking at the budget right now. Pick any indices. Nigeria, anyone. Pick the report from NBS. It's broken down.
I agree. No, Carlo, I agree. What I'm trying to say is, okay, we have the oil numbers and we have non-oil numbers. So what you're querying, if I understand, is some of the figures that's put in non-oil numbers you feel is inaccurate because they're